Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, MBs, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a sing-song here. All these thoughts running through my head. Butts on fire, I'm burning red. I can't remember the rest of the lyrics. Shit. I was almost there.
No.
Ruined.
No.
You can tell how badly I fucked up the Devil Trigger cover I was going to do, but never mind. We are technically a bad anime podcast, so I suppose that's on brand for us.
Totally
anyway,
cheers.
Cheers. Happy Friday, everyone. I completely fucked up the... But that way can only go up from here. And indeed, well, we're going to be talking about Sarazanmai episode 4 and episode 5 today. One of which is about a man getting murdered viciously and horrifically in the public eye, and the other is the toy-sensed episode. I am, of course, Shadon as usual. I am, the resident alcoholic of this particular stream. Joining me, as always, from across the pond is the Soul Doctor.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out. You may or may not can tell I'm still suffering the ill effects of a cold. So apologies for sounding different / off. Emily says you're clearly pissed already, which is, I don't know. Can you confirm or deny?
Make that a poll. We'll leave it to the audience to decide. Is Shadon a drunken wreck?
Yes.
I mean, the bottle is mostly full. I will point out here. You can see mostly full. So not yet, but we'll see how, of course, the stream progresses. I mean, when we get to discussing episode 5, a lot of this is going to be down very quickly because I poured this one out for our boy Haruka, the poor lad, because
boy.
Haruka did nothing wrong. Make that a hashtag. Poor sweet innocent.
I know. Well, of course,
poor sweet
right?
innocent child.
So far, I mean, you never know what Ikuni will do. Like, he'll be revealed as this like evil mastermind in a couple of episodes. But no, for now, I mean, I don't think you can. Yeah, no one's saying that, right? No one's like saying Haruka fucking sucks. Who's out there? Who's on that corner?
I will fight you. I will fight you in the streets. I'm just saying. All right, so yeah, we're doing a double bill today. We need to do some quick housework or housekeeping first. So, unfortunately, Vorgelia is not here today, and she's asked that she leave doing Sarazanmai for the remainder of the season, just because of personal commitments she's got, which is a shame. I'm kind of glad that she's not going to be here, but we'll continue on anyway. She's not gone forever. We'll be back doing whatever we're doing for season 6. Hopefully something terrible, because we keep doing good shows now. We need to get back to our roots of doing something fucking atrocious.
I know, well,
I'm already doing that to myself, admittedly, but that's a different...
Yeah, but for... on a grand scale. We've been doing a lot of, good stuff lately. And... I mean, look, there's multiple ways we could get to this point, right? Like, whenever we reach a subscriber milestone, we do something shitty.
Oh, God.
So, if people out there want to push our YouTube channel, it's at, 376, 377. People want to push that up to 400. We'll watch some shitty anime again, because...
Get us up to 400, and we'll watch the Fies anime that's out at the moment.
No, I don't know about that.
Oh, well, you're not game for that. Come on.
What is it?
You're not. It's just, I don't know. It's literally just called something thighs, and it's about girls with thighs. And I'm just like, well, at least it's honest with itself.
That won't be. That'll just be sad. That won't be gleeful to make fun of. That'll just be like, oh. Listen.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, yeah.
Ravensgale, we have already done a Garzy's Wing. That's not to say that a second Garzy's Wing episode could not be Look, Garzy's Wing is a deep... Byston Well is deep. And you can just gain... taking it in right now, you can just gain so much from multiple dips into the well. There's so much there for you. To think that you could take from Garzy's Wing everything it had to offer in a single viewing is, dare I say, hubris. Madness!
Have you fucking heard yourself? Have you fucking heard the words coming out of your mouth? Just... Right, let's pretend that Doc didn't say that. I know it's going to be on the archive later so people can clip it and point out to me that, that he did say that. But I'm just going to, blot it out of my brain. Probably with more booze, to be fair. So anyway, yes, Volgelli unfortunately will not be joining us for remainder of Sarazanmai.
Yeah.
But we'll continue on with it as we usually do, in our own thundering, plodding way. What else? Doc, do you have the polls from last time?
Oh, I can pull those up right away.
Yeah. While Doc is pulling those up, I want to say something very quickly about the polls, which is we got quite a lot of engagement with the last 3 that were put out. We had like 50 plus responses. So to those of you who did respond to the polls, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to offer your thoughts on the episode. Hopefully we'll get similar engagement going forward, but it's always nice just to have people getting on it. Some people picked some particularly interesting answers, and also one of the polls was actively disproven by episode 5.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a moment when you bring them up.
Okay, so here they are. By the way, Shadon, do I sound, not the cold, but just equipment-wise, do I sound okay? Am I sounding...
Well, apart from the fact that you were suggesting you wanted to rewatch Cars this week, I think you sound perfectly fine.
Okay. I'm just making sure that, that my actual microphone was picking me up rather than my webcam mic, which sometimes happens. I feel like the first... One of our recent, about a month ago, did a stream accidentally into the webcam mic, and it sounded terrible. But, okay, polls. Here we go. Did you empathize with Enta's plight, despite the bad things he does, with regards to Kazuki? And 92%, this is the landslide of landslides, said yes, he's just flawed. And a very strict and stringent and, law and order type 8% of you folks said no excuses.
I will intercede on that and just say that, like before, I think that both answers are perfectly fair depending on where your moral compass lies. There's no right or wrong on that one, even though it was overwhelmingly in one direction. So, but that's the thing I like to gauge about this kind of stuff is, when we get complicated characters like this who are on an ambiguity, or an ambiguous moral area, what do people think? You come here and you listen to me mouth off for 2 hours straight. What do you guys think? Let's get that instead. So next,
is Azusa Sarah secretly the evil Lovecraftian overlord of the Otter Empire?
Episode 5 gave some thoughts on this. Let's put it that way.
So 40% says 40% say she's an evil Deshou. So yes.
When you said says then, you were turning into someone from a local council estate near where I live. You were getting really, really common people from Britain there. Careful, Doc.
That's gotta be bad.
It is.
38% say that's utterly ridiculous, and 22% say it's actually Phil. Goddammit, which I support.
Yeah, those people had the right answer.
Those are
good on you.
Those are people that have been with us for more than one season.
I'm just waiting for Sarah just to do the hello, it's me, Phil. Like that.
The zipper, zip. Yeah, it's me, Phil. Lovecraftian lizard man. Issue of there's gotta be, by the way. There's got to be an Otterman Empire joke in there somewhere, right? I mean, it must... I can see, the beginning and the end, but I can't really see how to get from A to B.
What, was it several hundred years long? That's how long the Ottoman Empire went for.
Exactly.
Fuck my life, that's a pun and a half. Ravenscale, just one thing I want to point out, Barry. If you're going to be cosplaying the Otter Cops, you've got to get the dancing. You've got to get the stage play that they pull off. It has to happen.
Soya. You gotta learn all those lyrics. That's fun.
And I think we have one more, I believe.
One more poll. Is Haruka's paraplegia, the result of the sign falling in episode 1, or has it been a lifelong issue? Here's another one that seems to have been disproven by the most recent episode. 67% said that it was the sign, and 33% said lifelong. Whether or not it's the sign, the lifelong theory, I think, has been debunked. As we'll talk about.
It absolutely has.
Yeah. So those are the polls.
Yeah. So, thank you everyone for taking part in those. We'll have more coming up as the stream progresses and afterwards, so do keep an eye out on our Twitter. Feel free to drop your own thoughts in on that. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with episode 4. Because we're doing a double feature here today, I'm going to be carrying episode 4 on the summary. Mark will then be doing episode 5, but I'll be chipping in. I'm going to have to apologise in advance because, given the compressed nature of this, it's been kind of difficult to get both episodes rewatched in such a short amount of time. I basically came home, got my bottle of booze, got something to eat, got episode 4 rewatched, and then realised, oh shit, I'm out of time. Whoops. Yeah, that didn't go so well. So on course here, for having a kind of a footing stream, but we'll give it a go.
Okay.
So episode 4. Episode 4 is the toy-centered episode because we've already had the Kazuki one and we've had the Enter one, so naturally it makes sense. And it starts with someone being murdered. So we're off to a flying start here. Sarazanmai, don't give no fucks. He'll just do whatever. It suggests that his brother killed someone in what I presume to be a underground, tunnel of some... I don't know what it is, what you call it.
Right.
But that's the suggestion while Toy was younger than he is now. And that seems to have, scarred him since then. Much of this episode is Toy's own flashbacks about how he came into the position he is with relation to his brother and the family situation that forced him to do the things they do.
Oh.
But that doesn't happen... Oh.
You just reminded me, actually. This episode was directed by Nobuyuki Takeuchi. And I feel like it's important to point it out because it does have a little bit of a different... I mean, it's not going to deviate too much because a lot of the episode will be blocked off for the kind of the sequences that have been repeating throughout. But, there's some differences here, like the flashback heaviness, how long the leakage scene was, the use of music, things like that. And Takeuchi, worked with Ikuhara on Penguin Drum, but I think that for me, he's more famous, in my mind, for storyboarding and the first 5 episodes of Bakemonogatari and directing, being the animation director for I think the whole Snail arc, episodes 3 through 5. Regarding the other stuff on the CV, he's got the Kizu stuff. I mentioned the Penguin Drum. I was a key animator on Ponyo. I was not aware of that. But yeah, mostly have heard of this guy for his excellent work on Bakemonogatari. And I think he keeps up that tradition of excellence here. I loved how this episode was slightly, and the next one too, I think, sort of slightly different from what's come before.
Yeah, I want to actually point out something very quickly about the direction in the immediate scenes following the opening feed. So, recall at the end of episode 3, and yeah, I know we're kind of a bit late on this one, but of course that was the revelation that Haruka was paralyzed from the waist down. So what is the thing that is given most emphasis in the opening moments of this episode following the flashback? The wheelchair. The fact that there's a panning shot over what is essentially nothing in the family's house, but you get it's almost center front the wheelchair ramp going up one of the stairs. So I really fucking like this just as okay, here was the giant bombshell from the previous episode. We're not going to let you forget about that. There are going to be, things to brought up about that. Right. So that was excellent. So of course it's the family meal in the morning, and we've got Azuma Sara, doing her usual shtick. Turns out that Haruka is going to be going to a fan meet with Azuma Sara, happening immediately the day after. Boy. And
sorry.
Yeah. And Kazuki, of course, finds out about this, and I think I've never known a character in fiction to have dropped such a gigantic shit in one go because of how how screwed they are.
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably taking notes from Mrs. Doubtfire on how to handle this next, because Yeah, he's boned, basically. He's done for. One thing to note, by the way, is
or
that...
is he?
Well,
We'll see.
We saw how that turned out.
Yes.
Um,
Spoilers,
but,
skipping ahead.
Spoilers ahead, everything goes horribly wrong, as you might expect.
Dude.
But one thing to note as well is that Kazuki is, of course, even before the fan meet was even announced or arranged, he's not going with Haruka anyway. It's Enter who's going with it.
Yep.
So, again, keep that in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
But this is indeed a Toy-sense episode, and the plot is progressing in the background. So we actually learn that Toy is living the Persona 5 MC lifestyle in the cafe, attic. He's living in LeBlanc, or if LeBlanc was a soba shop. By the way, Azusa Sara's selfie of the day is soba, so take a picture yourself while he's soba.
Soba.
And he's having a phone call with his brother while his brother is, of course, washing his dog and not torturing someone in the bathtub as we saw last time. Absolutely innocent, completely. And it turns out that Toy is, got a gun. I want to point something out here that I'm going to say.
Beautiful CG piece.
Yes, but put a pin in that for later, because I want to talk about that in more detail. But they're essentially discussing, why you're not living with me, sorry I can never be by your side, that kind of thing. Still very distant from each other, as we've seen the previous episodes. But it looks like that Toy, I think he's living with his uncle, I believe, or possibly his granduncle. It's not. Yeah. I'm not quite sure, but it doesn't really matter. It's similar. I mean, I made the P5 joke, but the relationship is kind of similar, I suppose.
Do you think
Enter has called him?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna throw this out. Do you think it's gonna turn out that none of the boys are living with their Well, I guess Enta isn't really living with his parents either. It's his sister and his grandmother. We haven't seen whether the parents are there or not, but yeah, I guess none of the boys live with their biological parents.
Well, this is, without getting too deep into this as a talking point for later, again, like I've said in the Persona 4 stuff that we did previously, what is one of your biggest guiding, influences in your life as you grow up? Your immediate parents. And to varying degrees, the kids, as we'll learn in this episode and in episode 5, particularly in relation to Kazuki, they don't have stable parental figures, really, I would argue. Or if they do, especially in the case of Toy, they're not the best. They're deeply, deeply flawed individuals. But yeah, Enter has come on over and he said he's called Toy out, and he asks him, "Will you give Kazuki your dish of hope?" And if I ever believed Enter to be rock stupid, this was the moment that proved it, because you're asking Toy, the man who is a hardened career criminal who, just and if I ever believed Enter to be honestly, good attempt, because you're asking Toy A for effort, gold star and all that, but no such luck. But in discussing this, Kazuki, sorry, I keep saying Kazuki, but I'm getting the names wrong around. Toy is reminded of a discussion or a conversation he had with his brother about the idea, of the weak, perishing and only the strong and the bad can survive. Overlaid with a shot of, various people queuing up into the shop who are completely faceless, building on his idea that no one gives a shit about what's happening. So he goes and broods over, the riverbed, and this is the point where Kazuki turns up, dressed in his Azusa costume, out of nowhere, runs up to him, hugs him, and says, "Oh yeah, totally fucking kidnap for me, by the way." I mean, what kind of batshit logic do you have to be operating on to think that's a good idea on any level?
Well, first you're going to kidnap a cat. It's a slippery slope to kidnapping humans. And we talked about before, kind of him being willing to hurt other people or... hello, everyone, by the way, people arriving in chat. Hi. Kazuki being willing to hurt other people to sacrifice their happiness for the happiness of his own self or his own brother. I mean, and we'll drill down more into what exactly his motivations are as we go along. But yeah, I mean, clearly, whether people well, let me back up. Clearly, the show is behind that. If you thought the cat thing is just one thing, but Kazuki won't do anything really bad. It's no, he's he definitely is like his moral compass is operating differently than I think yours or mine may do.
It's spinning in circles, basically.
Yes. Exactly.
So, by the way, Kazuki, like, not only is he dressed up as Sarah, but he's also actually imitating her mannerism, using the "deesh" at the end of it, like, you know. So they visit the soba shop, and this is the point where they get the selfie, and insert a moment in which, you know, Ty, you know, questions himself, like, oh my god, am I actually cute?
He's hot. Oh, man. Toy.
So yeah.
That moment's great. When he's
that
like,
is pretty great.
Wow, he's kind of hot. Wait a minute, what am I thinking? No. Like, yeah. I love that bit.
I mean, Kazuki says to Tai, like, you know, I'll take Sarah's place after you kidnap her. And, I mean, I haven't pointed this out before, but someone else has on Twitter, and I'm going to shamelessly steal that. I mean, like, you know, properly bringing this up. Kazuki's outfit is a very poor imitation of the real thing. Like, it's from a distance, if you happen to be, you know, rubbing Vaseline into your eyes, probably the same. But otherwise, there are subtle differences, not least of which is a lack of makeup as well.
That one old guy in the crowd, though. Next episode, he didn't know. That's my grandkid. Yeah. What did he say? Something like that? It's my granddaughter.
And to be fair to Haruka's like 8 or something like that. I mean, come on, you know, when you go see Father Christmas when you're that young, you can't tell that it's just a random dude in a costume. So we can forgive Haruka for that. I mean, like I say, no one gives Haruka shit in this show. Like, I won't hear it. I will not fucking hear it. But anyway, this is when we get a flashback at this point to Toy's past, where the soba shop that he lived in as a child before his parents died is now being sold, presumably due to mobster debt. And this is when his brother is properly introduced to us. And to say he leaves a rather crappy impression is probably a bit of an understatement, because he seems to be A, complete arsehole, and B, running the Jordan Peterson, you know, the strongest, you know, Lord over the Week playbook or some shit like that. Honestly, I got some serious fucking vibes from that made me think he's just been watching too many YouTube videos.
Are you talking about Toy's brother here?
Yes. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, like the whole, like, bad people are the ones who survive, because surviving's all that matters.
Alpha males.
I didn't read it as quite that. But
I'm joking. I'm taking the piss.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. If we want to talk about Toy's brother now or later, it's up to you.
Probably later, because there's more to discuss, of course, to give context to his action. This scene, by the way, again, talking about direction, a lot of real close-ups, like movements and objects, like Toy's brother pulls out the necklace of pearls his mother had to sell. Toy himself says, I wish you died instead of them. I mean, he is 10, so I kind of, you know, understand that he doesn't get the implications of saying such an awful thing. But yeah, suffice to say, if that was your one and only impression of their relationship, you'd think that they hated each other immensely. But as is, you know, the path, of course, for this particular show, it's more complicated. So it looks like Toy's brother is actually a part of what I'm going to presume to be, you know, a really, really, you know, low-level Yakuza gang. And I'm talking Yakuza the video game here, because they're all wearing, like, you know, seagull pattern jackets.
Yes. Yep.
And he finds a gun that was given to his brother by the leader of the gang inside the drawer. So that's his, you know, realization. Yeah,
the worst place you can hide a weapon, in the drawer of a child. Chiaki, or is it his name? Chiaki? Like
Chiaki.
What the fuck, man? Like, it doesn't matter that you've covered it up in this handkerchief. Like, it is a gun-shaped handkerchief. Like,
congratulations.
Yeah. I mean, so I understand the thinking, right? If you don't want, like, you want to put it somewhere where if your place gets turned upside down and searched by cops or whoever, you know, people won't find the gun. But in a child's fucking desk drawer, this is some dumb shit. And yeah, it's a very dumb shit.
Indeed. So indeed, the sober shop is being closed down. They're being evicted because of the mob debt. But then Chiaki turns up with the absolute, number one sign that your brother or person is indeed now a, career criminal. A briefcase full of money.
I know. Let's not question it. Let's just, let's just go with it here. But yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I neglected to mention this. The music that plays during the scenes between Chiaki and the Seagull gang leader, the sleazy film noir jazz. Oh, loved it.
Yeah,
that's my shit right there.
It's good,
and it's not sober, but I will lap it up all the same.
He's also got the deed to the shop now. That he, that was, man. That's when it starts to turn your impression of him at least a little bit, because you can see that he's not just a heartless, criminal, like what his brother said about loving the shop and all the memories there with his parents, and how much it meant to him. Seeing that affected Chiaki, and so he took his, ill-earned, ill-gotten fortune and bought the shop and gave it to his relatives, and so yeah, I mean, you just be wow, he really cares about his brother here.
So after all that, we cut back, of course, to Kazuki and Toi discussing the kidnapping plan, including making a little map with counters on it. And I'm like, well, I guess Kazuki will be a great dungeon master later in life if he ever wants to, take that up as a pastime.
It is a detailed map.
It is. That's the point when Kazuki's bowl of soba flies away. And because the kids are not rock stupid, and this is a small detail I really liked, Toi immediately clocks on that a Kappa zombie is about. Which, of course, leads us to cut straight to the Otter Cops. Ah, man. So, we've got Mr. Sober of the Sober Shop who's been murdered. I'm not even joking. That's literally his fucking name.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was his crime?
Puns.
What was his crime, as it turns out? And as I was watching this, I was like, nope, I'm good. It turns out this gentleman was siphoning away the second-hand bathwater of female clients to his sober shop. Yukinon gets it. This is I don't know if you're in on the lore here, Doc, but if you happen to know of the game Under Night in Birth, there's been some very thirsty people who've been making comments about bathwater with regards to the female characters from that game, particularly Yuzahira. So insert your own degenerate Unisplayer joke here. They're all good.
Are there scenes of Yuzu in the bath in the game or something?
Sadly, no, but if that was the case, I can guarantee you it would have been the best-selling fighting game of the past 20 years. Because people are that fucking thirsty.
Well, listen, I mean, Yuzu's a lovely character, but I do not know about the lore, the bathwater lore. I'll have to.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're fine.
No, Yukinon, should I look into this?
Don't listen
tell
to
us now in the chat.
He'll lead you astray. Trust your long-time podcast friend. So, indeed, of course, Mr. Sober has been turned into a Kappa zombie, and Toi, Kazuki, and Enter visit Kepi. And there's a shot on the TV that comes out of Kepi's body of Toi's sober shop, where they're closing up because of what's been happening. Question for you, very quickly, not a real talking point.
Okay.
Do you reckon Kepi showed him that deliberately because he knew Toi was there? Seems a bit coincidental that turned up out of nowhere.
It's an interesting one. Probably. I mean, I'm starting to think so.
Well, given what happens in episode 5.
So Tallulah Bell has an interesting question in chat, by the way. Anyone realize that they defeat the Kappa zombies by kink shaming them? Is that how it appears or reads to you?
I don't know, because I think that, the crimes that the various people have made thus far, the varying degrees, the Bath War one is pretty bad. Don't get me wrong, that's pretty fucking bad. There's no real way around that.
It's definitely unique.
It is. But I think it's just a case of, kink shaming is built on the idea of, getting something that wants to be kept secret out there. So I would argue yes, but I think that, if they were not as outrageous as they would probably work the same way. So.
Yeah, like, that's an interesting way to parse the situations. Like, it doesn't really seem like that's kind of, like, the first order of what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? They're not like, it's a joke. Well, but no, I think it's interesting because like they do end up feeling ashamed, but just because their secret's out. But yeah, okay.
Well, so Lubel, you should be a fighter game player because you're excellent at doing baits.
You got me good there.
Yep,
there's no. I'm really bad at like. I'm very bad at deciphering tone from text. This is a problem in my life in general. That leads into some bad situations.
To answer Yuki's question, like, you want my opinion on that? Like, it's one of those things where I won't necessarily understand it or, like, get it myself as something, it'll feel very alien to me. But that doesn't mean that you can't, if you're cool with it, you do whatever, kinky stuff you want to do, that's fine. Doesn't bother me or bother me in any other way. You're not siphoning away my bath water. Because I don't have a bath, that's why. Ha! Take that.
Yeah, I'm not really a bath taker. I'm more of a shower person. Like the bath seems I don't know. At a certain point you're just kind of laying in water that seems less than ideal.
Mm-hmm. So on the plot then, Toy, like as soon as he sees that his family's soba shop is like being affected by this, he, like entering the last episode, again take note of this, turns to Kepi and says, right, bait me into a camper, let's go.
He grabs his lips like right there. Do it. And we get to see just how high Kepi is because his eyes are so fucking red. Just absurdly red.
Oh man. I'll put on big stars Sophie.
Hashtag buy Shadon a bath. Oh, yes. Like,
if you buy me a bath, I'll do all my podcasts while I'm in there, which means we'll let no viewers after that.
It would be the sort of Gundam Wing-esque, like your trays doing a podcast from the bath, with bubbles, of course, strategically covering your dangly bits.
God, are we doing a Sarazanmai moment right now where we're getting this shit out in the open? Expectedly. God damn it.
Yep.
Emily has the right idea, though. Anyway, so, Kappa zombie fight, usual stuff. It's Toy leading the charge on this one and doing the song, though, so that's your difference there. And they, of course, win. And then we cut to the inevitable leak. So, what was the leak? What was the leak that happened in this episode? To abridge it, it turns out that Chiaki actually got the money for the soba shop from the Seagull boss guy. And, boss guy, says, right, I'm going to find him. I'm going to get my money back from him. So I overhears this because he's trying to find his brother because he's wandering all night. I mean, he's a 10-year-old kid or however old he is at the time. I can kind of get that.
Did you notice the boss guy had no eyebrows? That was very distracting to me. Extremely.
Also, his colleague is constantly making seagull noises and seagull poses.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice that. I'll have to go back. But, I was just it's very Super Saiyan 3 sort of deal with, just no eyebrows along it. It was very distracting. Anyway, please continue.
He's very into it, what can I say? But yeah, but obviously, Toy, 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He's had rows with his brother, quite severe ones, but he still loves him, still cares for him. But, being a 10-year-old, he can express that love, but he doesn't know what way to express it well. So what does he do? He goes back, grabs the gun, finds Seagull Man underneath this subway, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Shoots him. Dead. That was the flashback we had at the start of the episode. Put a pin in that, by the way, for a talking point later, then how we got kind of a little bit more at the start, but then more here, and I'm going to talk about that later on. So, I obviously don't know how, powerful or influential the Seagull Gang is. I'd hope that they would have a better, logo or name than simply being called the Seagulls. I mean, do they flock off? I don't fucking know.
Hey, I have a question. Why do seagulls live by the sea?
Is this going to make me drink this? Is the answer to this going to make me down this in one go?
No, of course not.
Hit me.
Because if they live by the bay, they'd be bagels. Bagels. Get it?
Oh, no, I do. Thanks for that, dog. Right, okay. So, having survived the mental anguish of that particular moment...
It was bad.
It was
Sorry.
fucking atrocious, mate. The follow-up from this is that Jackie actually turns up and takes the gun from Toy and shoots the guy again. Now, whether or not he's already dead before he shoots him, or he is dead after the fact, we don't know. But, here's what comes of this. It turns out that Jackie, he says to him, I'm the guy who killed him with this gun. Brothers are going to
survive. Did he shoot him again? Like,
he did, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he shot him twice.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing, right? That gesture, Jackie is actually taking the heat for the murder of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though Toy is like 10 and he was scared for his fucking life, do you really think hardened criminals are going to care about that? They'll kill him dead.
Yeah.
And there's no way he can look after himself, whereas at least you get the impression, Jackie, that he is somewhat street smart.
And you gotta hope to, like, rewrite his memory in a way in the trauma. Like, you know, when everything is still so fresh and open and he's totally vulnerable and might not even realize what happened. You just run up there, I did it, it was me, remember it. Imprint this on your brain. This is how we're going to live
Spartacus.
our life. Yes, and that's how it's going to be. That perception is going to be the reality under which we live. Indeed.
So, obviously, bear in mind that this leak has been broadcast to both Kazuki and Ensa, so they know about that. Mm-hmm. So once they return from the Field of Desire, this was really weird to me. Ensa's all on this. He's like, fucking kill the guy, man. Oh my god. And Kazuki's just gnawing on a cucumber. What, is everyone he knows a murderer? Is that why this is so, like, off base for him?
We'll get to this point at the beginning of the next episode, I think.
Yeah. So they end up a silver dish. Enter's losing his shit over this. And Toy says to him, if you let the secret out, I'll fucking end you. Yeah.
Yeah.
After entering blade mode to, properly slice up all the various cucumbers with his ruler. And that's the end of the episode, until the post-credit stinger.
Fucking A, man. This was a stinger. This was something.
I mean, I do like how, Ikuhara at this point seems to have mastered the art of, punching you in the balls, like, after the closing credits with, like, wait, they said what? They said what? Excuse me? So, like, Toy's had enough. He going home because he's, like, done with this shit. He's done his bit for the evening. Kazuki comes after him and actually gives him his silver dish of hope that he got previously, which is in stark contrast to what Enz was saying earlier in the episode, like, give it him. And he was just willing to give it away for free.
Did he take it? I can't remember. I know he offered it to him. I can't remember if he took it or not.
I don't know.
Okay.
But the key point here is that, when Toy questions, Kazuki says, oh, I hate Haruka. And I'm like, wait, what? Do you want to repeat that again, Kazuki? Do you want to, mouth those words again? Do you want to try one more time? What a wanker.
That's what you come away with? Well, yeah, I mean, defend... Well, look, defend Haruka, right? I mean...
Anyway, so that's episode 4. I want to connect, but you're so far away. Woofed. I mean, all of the character-centric episodes have been quite something, but this one was like... I'll save it for the talking points, but suffice to say, like, that was quite the thing again. And now we're going to go on to episode 5.
Yeah, okay, alright. So, I was going to ask you, do you want to do summary, and then lump all the discussion together? I think that would make sense.
That would make sense, because inevitably if we start talking about, like, stuff from episode 4 in isolation, it will then, not make sense when we get to episode 5. We can't do like the week-on-week thing this time around because, well, we have the knowledge of episode 5 in our heads.
Exactly. Okay, well,
all right.
We'll try to wing this episode 5 summary after a brief break, or I need to take a brief break. Do you want to like start it, or should we just break and then come back in a second?
I'll crack on.
Okay, all right. I will return momentarily.
Okay, so episode 5. I want to connect, but I can't be forgiven. Here's the thing. The opening of this episode reveals to us the, history of Kazuki's family, or at least parts of it. Shows Haruka being born, and it then has Kazuki's grandfather dying and saying, "Your mother was a sloppy woman." Now, what he ultimately means by that, be it that Kazuki's mother, had an affair, or potentially, committed the incredibly heinous crime of not washing the dishes correctly, which in the world of Sarazanmai, I imagine, would be, a loggable offense. We don't know. But that's a kind of a cruel thing to drop on him before, he passes away. But that made him realize, or at least think, that his family, Haruka's parents specifically, were not his parents in turn biologically. Put a pin in that for later because that's going to be the big theme for this episode. By the way, nice contrasting show opening here. The fact that the wheelchair ramp is up there and that Haruka is walking. So you can obviously piece together at this point the fact that he was fine and then later something happened. What that is, we don't know yet, but we will find out in due course. So, I'm sketching this from memory because, again, I didn't have time to rewatch this bit. But they do indeed put the plan in action in this episode where they, decide that they are going to kidnap Azusa Sarah in advance of, the actual fan meet-up. And they do indeed follow it through from what they discussed in episode 4, which is, first off, we've got to deal with the manager. So, taking inspiration from what I think is Payday 2, based on the fact that he's wearing a Kappa face mask. Yeah, really. Toy ambushes him in the toilet, ties him up, takes his pants, not quite sure why, but who cares.
That is a great question. Like, why take the pants? Because he didn't put the pants on. Is it because they had some kind of, like, penguin drum, like, symbol on them, and them flying away was, like, a reference? I don't really know. It looked like they had the pink penguin on them.
He also puts a cucumber in his mouth for some reason. Again, could not tell you. So anyway, we cut to Azuma Sarah, browsing through what I think is her own kind of pornography, given it's all cucumbers.
Oh man, yeah. It's the safest unsafe Google image search.
Mm-hmm. Man, I wouldn't like to know what porn we've got as far as cooking cucumbers goes. But anyway,
smooth or lumpy. That's one of the forks in the category road for sure.
So, Tai turns up as Azusa's dressing room and takes her away. And at this point, Kazuki is there to take her place at the actual at the dressing room, waiting for the actual fan meet. This is the point where he gets a message from Haruka because again, it's got a direct line, and Haruka comes up with a secret phrase, that he apparently has been discussing previously. Which, since I've got the frame of the actual scene here, right up, very convenient. Says from the beginning to the end. Just waiting for it to play the next bit. We're connected in a big circle. Big pin in that, because that's going to come full circle in a big way. Because Kazuki has a kind of reaction to it, and you might wonder why. We will indeed find out. So, this next bit of the episode that followed, I really liked.
Holy shit!
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, and I might be jumping the gun. You go ahead.
So, obviously, Haruka and Enter are in line at the fan meet. Haruka being his usual adorable self. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, protect this precious child. So, today's selfie item, by the way, is...
Sachet.
sachet. Not the thing you find in pot noodles, but actually smells, like scent sachets. So, what follows after this is...
can I really quick? Like, I think now we have... unless there's some clever... something clever that happens, I feel like we've discovered now that the selfie item of the day must be 2 syllables. Because it has to be used in the song, soba soba, kisu kisu, sashay sashay, to back up the lead Kappa vocalist.
Well, there's your evidence as well that, maybe Azusa Sara is evil or not on the level because of the fact that it's her dictating the items they're then seized on by the otters.
Totally. Very interesting.
So anyway, we of course get the other cops dealing with their latest one, who's a gentleman who is stealing scent sachets from women, specifically, I think later we'll find out, from feet. Because Ikuhara has decided to, just play, the bingo card of strange fetishes, and he's going for the full house. So
go big or go home.
Yeah. Toy doesn't kidnap Azusa Sara, but something I predicted that turned out to be true. Azusa Sara is not who she appears to be. She is Kappa. Or at least a Kappa in the same sense as Kepi is a Kappa. And that allows us to escape from all the various, tricks that Toy tries to pull on her, including the Metal Gear Solid locker trick. Does not work.
This adorable, wiggle out from under the door every time. It's amazing.
Yep. I escaped, Tish. Easy. Easy.
I'm not in there anymore.
Including a wonderful insert scene that is utterly unnecessary to the plot. Makes no sense if you think about it. But I found really, really funny. Which is that Toy puts her in a fucking magician's box and stabs it with swords.
I mean, just...
It makes no sense in context. Not a shred of it. But I laughed my ass off at this because it was genuinely funny. I only wish they'd followed it up with him doing something like, tying a concrete block to her legs and throwing her in the sea. And he's just there finally, he just taps on the shoulder and goes, skate again.
Yes. Very Looney Tunes.
Or as I said on Twitter, firing her into the sun and she's just sat there, at Capcom, just enjoying herself.
That was a great scene. It
was great. Completely unnecessary to the plot, but fun. And fun is what we need because if you have any sort of precognitive ability or a general sense of, impending doom, you can probably see where this is going. So, Enter recognizes that Kazuki is there posing as Sarah-chan. But because Toy, learned all of his, rope tying tricks from, Dick Dastardly and didn't actually do a proper job of it, the manager escapes.
Oh my god.
Gets back into the, the meeting hall where they all are and says, objection! Wait, no, sorry, wrong thing. I meant to say, he says that Sarah is an imposter. And
I'm it's just this escalating fucking, sorry, I accidentally pressed a button on my keyboard that made something happen. It's this escalating tension in this scene of, more and more, it goes from, awkward to tense to, I feel oppressed by the very air in the room. I have to, walk around or, walk outside to get fresh air and breathe because, what is happening? It's, and it's just the first part, the manager coming in there and disputing it.
Yeah.
Is just
Ikuhara, by the way, he turns this up to 11 with a flashback scene in which we get to see Haruka and Kazuki when they were much younger, while Haruka's still walking, at a park. And do you remember that thing that I said about, being connected in a circle from beginning to end?
Mm-hmm.
Haruka says that to Kazuki.
Yep.
It's the phrase that they already have, or have come up with in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was watching,
that's what took him off guard, right, when he saw it in the Line app or whatever.
And as I was unraveling the layers of this fuckery, this absolute, oh my god, I was like, oh. There's not enough booze in my booze to talk about this. I'm just going to say that. I mean, holy shit. By the way, nice touch. When they're having this scene, there is indeed a metal framework of the park with a circle on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case you didn't catch on to that. But, yeah. So, of course, manager comes in, and Haruka doesn't believe him at first, because, Haruka, like I said, Santa Claus say, when you're young, you don't. But then the curtains fall, and Azusa Sarah returns.
And then you're just like, fucking A, get the fuck out of there before what happens next happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. It was so painful, dude. It was tough.
Yeah. And Haruka even says to the real Azusa Sarah, she walks up, like the actual phrase, and Azusa Sarah just goes,
"Who are you?" Like, oh, God, who are you? I mean, like, we have this special bond. We've been texting. We're like great friends. We have this phrase, "Who are you?" Like, damn. Ice
Bomb
cold.
Bomb screws this entire scene. So Kazuki's wig falls off, and he makes.
Oh, that's the part. The wig falling off is the part where it's just like, where I just had to leave. It's like, nope. I feel too naked. I feel too vulnerable, like vicariously for this character. So I have to go. Like I literally, it was true that I could not take it, and I mean this happens sometimes to me when watching stuff. Like it just got so wrapped up in it. And I mean, kudos to the show for creating that kind of emotional moment.
I also add?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like when it comes to fiction, like you obviously as an author want to build up to big events or big moments. These can be twists, they could be reveals, they could be moments of triumph, moments of failure, you name it. So if I, up to episode 5, was asked, when do you think Haruka's going to find out that Kazuki is actually cosplaying as Uzusara? Mm-hmm. I just said, well, closing 5 minutes of the final episode.
Yeah.
Haruka will say something, I knew all along, or it's okay, Oni-chan, you get where I'm going with this.
Or it'll be on, well, I thought it was going to be on Kazu's terms, you know what I mean? Like Kazu would come, wig in hand, like framing the discussion, framing the terms of the engagement. No.
Yep.
All the control is taken away from him, and he's just
That's why I said he got murdered in public.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, props to Ikuhara, the absolute madman. He did me over with this. This was a tough watch, and I'm not talking about it because it was bad. I'm talking because it's great drama.
Yep.
But often great drama comes with, the cost of, actually dealing with the pain of, emphasizing and sympathizing with the characters. So, yeah. And as Yukinon has rightly just pointed out in chat, Haruka tries to call after Kazuki as he runs away.
Yep.
I'm just here like
he still of course loves him, and I mean that kid is so pure. Like he will they could be fine tomorrow, I guess, in terms of the way Haruka relates to Kazuki. I mean, Kazu's got a lot of things he's got to untangle inside himself to
not least of which is
start to approach that. God damn it. Oh, I don't even remember where I was going with that now. But yeah, like Haru calling after him was that was an emotional moment. The one and only one person in the whole world, right, that would do that for him at that moment. Like, I actually want to be around you. Don't go, and. I mean, I guess, I don't know if you're Kazuki, maybe that makes you want to sink into the ground like 1,000,000 times more. Maybe you just feel that much more mortified. I don't know, man.
I can't even imagine. I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like to be in that situation. But I can at least talk about what happens next, which is that the sachet, scent sachets that we mentioned earlier, start floating away. So obviously Kappa Zombie's back in town. And Kazuki runs to Kepi's shrine, and the others follow. Toy delivering some, cold hard truths in here. Enter decides to pick a fight, or what is almost a fight with Toy, which, that's like trying to bareback a crocodile.
Come on, Enter. Come on. Yeah.
I mean, you need balls to do it, but it doesn't mean you're going to be able to follow through on it. But again, gold star, you get a nice certificate for good shit.
Let go of the man's clothing.
So indeed. But Toy is right, like, how long could you indeed keep this a secret? I mean, that was the thing I was asking of the show, funnily enough. How long will this be a secret?
Yeah.
Kazuki's, like, very emotional about all of this. Like, he's saying, like, I've hurt Haruka. But this is the point, and I want to make special note of this. Now, recall the past 3 episodes.
Recalling.
Kazuki, Enter, and Toy in turn all say to Kepi, I want you to make me a kappa when things go to pot in those particular episodes.
Right.
The 3 of them are having a very, like, heated emotional argument about all the shit they've been through. And Kepi, without being prompted, says that he's going to just turn them into kappas there and then. They don't get to prompt him to do that this time around. They don't get to say to him, right, make me a kappa to solve something. They just came there to talk, ostensibly. So again, Kepi, potential colossal dick. I'll leave that to you two guys to decide. So, they of course get the Kappa Zombie again, which is the dude stealing sachets. Turns out this Kappa Zombie, once defeated, had a foot fetish because of course. I mean, again, I'm not going to judge people who might be into that kind of thing, but I'm just seriously thinking that Ikuhara is just like, types in, wax up shit in Urban Dictionary and is just using that to fill out the, the issues of the day. So, next thing that happens, of course, is the leak that, and this time it's Kazuki's doing. But things are slightly different this time around, we learn. What we realise is that, and again, just refresh memory, so apologies here, Kazuki actually met who he believes to be his biological mother. Now, there isn't any concrete evidence of this in the episode, but we'll just go with that. Based on the smell again, the scent sachet. Apparently Haruka had a scent sachet of his mother. How that happened, we don't know. We can work on that later. But because he flat out can't handle this secret being leaked out, they fail. The desire they extracted from the Kappa zombie, decides to, evacuate Kazuki's Kappa backside in the same way that drugs evacuate someone when they're being cavity searched in an airport.
Yep. Goes back. The toothpaste was put back in the tube.
Yep. And resultantly, the Kappa zombie, goes back, returns to life. They get returned out of the field of desire. And, well, there's a kettle boiling, which is probably the best visual metaphor you could have for what's happening right now.
Kepi's so mad.
Kepi is fucking pissed. But again, call it what you want. Maybe he is actually a colossal prick. Because he says, I'm not going to turn you back into human form.
Right.
Yet, he's going to leave them as Kappa. Great. And for two of the 3 people there, that's a bad thing. Although for Kazuki, he's probably okay with that.
Yeah, he doesn't care right now.
Yeah, because speaking of someone who has had things happen to me in my life where I felt very embarrassed or ashamed, avoidance is a big thing. You don't want to get involved, or with the people that you're having an issue with at that time. You feel you have to keep at least distance between them. What more distance can you get than by not looking completely different than you would in human life?
Right.
So Kazuki's discussing stuff with his biological mother, or what we presume to be his biological mother. This is all based on feelings and not on facts. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But again, we'll allow the show to, reveal that to us in time.
The anti-Ben Shapiro approach. Okay.
Oh man, what, running away from English conservative on interviews?
Yeah.
What a spineless tosser he was. Or is, rather. There's no past tense.
Speaking of people who are mad, he's very mad.
Anyway, so Kazuki eventually decides, because he's of course grown up, like this is like pretty much close to the timeline of the show is running in, that he has a family who's more real than his biological, which is of course Haruka and his 2 parents, whose names we don't even know. Put a pin in that, by the way, because that'll be relevant for a criticism, believe it or not, I have of Sarazanmai. I know, like, Well, I said Doc's writing out, my severance package right now.
Yep.
He's writing my P45, like, you're not allowed to be on this podcast anymore for saying you don't like one element of this particular show. But anyway, so...
Suspended without pay.
Well, And here comes the scene that as soon as it started with the fact that, we get to see a repeat of the opening bit of episode 1 with him running down with, the Sangha. The fact that I remember that I'm quite proud of. So
yeah, there you go. I had forgotten, so good on you.
You pay place. And Haruka is running after him as he's running somewhere. It looks like, as we learn from the following scenes, that he's trying to catch up with his mother before she takes the train back to elsewhere.
Yeah.
And, well...
Yeah, I'll
say that...
Oh, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to ask, there's a lot of holes in this scene, and, motivations for what happens during this flashback haven't really been interrogated very much. So, but I guess it's reasonable to assume right now that Kazu, even though in person with his mother, and I agree with Tululabel, we can just sort of go on, let's just go for now with the fact that she's his mom, right? Yeah. They've somehow managed to meet, and they both think this is the case.
Even if that's not necessarily objectively true, the fact that he thinks that is enough.
Yep.
That's the thing I've said before. Characters can be objectively wrong in the show's own diegetic, construction.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that that what they feel is wrong. How many times can people speak in their own lives where they've been wrong about things they've done?
Right.
But that doesn't mean we still don't do things because of that. So yeah, that's totally cool. But
so what I was going to ask, the thing I was going to ask you though is or just posit, I guess, is that I think we're supposed to assume that even though he told her, when they were talking face to face at the park, look, I appreciate it, but I have this other family with a person who's important to me, then I guess he changed his mind and he was going to catch the train with her, or he at least wanted to talk to her again or have some more time. It's hard to say because he didn't really tell, because when Haru approaches him, he's not saying I'm going to leave. He didn't definitely say he was going to leave. So maybe he was just there to see her off, or maybe he was there to go with her. It's I don't think we know for sure yet.
It'll be immaterial as it turns out because something else happens in the meantime. So here's the thing, folks, right? Maybe you can all relate to me on this, but have you ever watched a show? And having watched a lot of media in your life, be it films, anime, television series, or reading books, playing video games, all sorts of things, that you start to get a sense for how things are going to play out next. And you wish you were blindly ignorant or blissfully ignorant of the fact that you can tell what's going to come next. And it's going to be awful. And it's going to make you feel bad. But you have to press on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment that Kazuki and Haruka catch up and they start talking to each other, and Kazuki crosses the road with a green blinking man sign, and as he's crossing, I have to pause the episode because I'm right, that's it. This is the moment, isn't it? This is when it happens. This is when it fucking happens. And, well, I might not know what I'm talking about half the time, but I was indeed correct. This is the point in which Haruka is hit by a car and is paralyzed. And Ikuhara, or whoever directs this episode, or whoever storyboarded it, you might expect, it's just tasteful, you get to see Haruka, knocks out cold on his face. No, we get to see that his legs are completely bloodied and bruised, and it's just all... And I'm and I'm here like this.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. And I think it's okay, that the beats can be predictable. And
that's the thing.
We still get to see them, because that helps us kind of inhabit the mind space of the characters, seeing it play out.
Mm-hmm. So, Kazuki, the poor kid, he's done some stupid shit, but even I felt for him on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, Doc, if you want to put this up as a poll, like, you can argue many ways, like, who's to blame for this?
Oh, I think no one.
Well, that's the thing, like, we can say, like, no one's to blame except maybe the person driving the vehicle or the car or whatever it was.
Except for parents letting the... No, I'm just kidding. I know. But some people may be thinking, like, oh, why is a child this young walking around on his own? It's much more common in that society for that sort of thing to happen. So I think that's not as big of a deal. Haru or any child of that age is going to be probably kind of more responsible and aware of, despite what happened in the scene, in a general sense, responsible and aware of things like traffic.
Because
than your child from somewhere else might be.
But here's the thing, like, we can of course argue the toss about who's right and who's at fault here.
Yeah.
But that's immaterial relative to how Kazuki feels, because he says, he can't breathe every time he sees Haruka in a wheelchair. And that gives some more context to his actions. Yeah. Because after all, keeping distance between some, like I said before, the idea of him now being a Kappa and probably being happy with that because it means he doesn't have to go face Haruka again looking as he does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe his actions in doing the whole Azusa Sarah thing are his way of putting a smoke screen or a shield or a filter up between him and Haruka.
Totally.
That allows him to operate on a level that he's comfortable with.
Totally.
And again, layers of complexity. We're building on this as we go along, as things are unveiled, as, the show starts dealing its hand out. And it's awful. Oh man. And fucking Kepi's drinking tea while he's doing this break, so up yours, Kepi. Smash that dish over your head. But anyway, that's the episode. But we're not quite done, of course, because we have the post-credits singer. What's the post-credits thing about? It's about our two favourite, Otacop straight out of what could have otherwise been the anime version of The Naked Gun. It is Ryo and Mabu. And they're discussing how they've been successful. But this is the point where we see, was it Ryo, the one with the actual teeth?
I can't remember which one's which, but I just know they're the two names. I've got the two names down. But yeah, he gets upset with the professorial looking one.
Yeah, because he's upset, about prioritizing personal feelings and all that.
Yeah.
So even these two, in their very rigid, very structured way they've been presented to us of doing the same thing over and over again, even they're breaking loose. But yeah, that's the end of episode 5, where the shit categorically hits the fan in every country on the planet.
Man. Okay.
And it punched me right in the fucking soul, I swear.
So, there is a lot to talk about. Do you want to, jump around and just mix in? Or should we do 4 and then 5?
If I may ask, may we take a break briefly, just for a moment?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, sorry folks, but unfortunately the vodka is agreeing in one way but not another, and you can infer that how you wish. I'll be back momentarily.
We'll be back after this. All right, we're back. Very brief break. Okay, discussion.
Oof, we got a lot to talk about.
There's a lot. So we can mix and match, I feel like, and just kind of do it organically as we go and lump them all.
Makes most sense to me, given the fact that, a lot of what we could talk about with relation to Toy's episode will indeed play into the, episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
Funny how things work out sometimes, when we do 2 episodes in one, but that's how the cookie crumbles, as they say.
The first time plot elements from one episode carried over to the next one happened to be this one with the kidnapping thing. Which, holy fucking shit, I can't... Toy, why the fuck did you do it? Like,
Kazuki, why did you suggest it?
I mean, just the whole thing. The whole thing of... Like, yeah, I mean, Kazuki is completely amoral. just totally, like, whatever I want, whatever's in front of me to grab hold of is the thing to do, and however I have to get there, I don't care.
Question for you on that topic, actually, comes to think of it.
Okay.
He only met Toy recently through the, whole Kepi situation.
Mm-hmm.
If he hadn't known Toy, what was his plan B?
That's an excellent question. I mean, I don't know if there would be, right? I mean, he's thanking his lucky stars he knows someone...
No, there is a plan B, and it's called Plan B, as in the B stands for butt fucks, because they ain't got shit to do.
I know, and then he's just totally screwed. And maybe he makes up some conspiracy, like, this will be a double. Me, the real Sarah, will be away because I'm sick or some bullshit. That would have been a lot safer.
Maybe he would, like, lay out, like, a loss of cucumbers, like a Roadrunner style trap, like Wile E. Coyote, into like a pit or something. I don't know.
I haven't seen School Days. I've only heard about it.
All right. So talk points. I actually have one I want to lead off with very quickly because it's a technical one.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about bad CGI.
Yes.
Now, if you've been a long-time follower of our show, you might recall more recently that I did, complain a bit in The Promised Neverland about the various scenes that were CG done, particularly the one of Norman walking down the corridor, in his, like, Green Mile moment.
Woof.
Woof, yeah. Or, alternatively, you might recall even further back when we covered Cardo, The Wrong Answer, that I mentioned that they didn't, the CG was very stiff and that they could have done some interesting things with it. So, here's the thing, right? If I were to rate, like, the general standard of CG from Japan, like in anime, I would call it yeah. Unless you happen to be Studio Orange, in which case you people are just, blood wizards or something that can conjure it out of thin air. Yeah. Thank you very much for Land of Lustrous, by the way.
Blood wizards.
Yeah. But here's my point, though, right? One of the things I said when we were discussing Cardo on that podcast was that they could have actually used CG to their advantage. Because when you have CG overlaid over 2D animation, it looks really unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
It looks wrong. It looks out of place. And more often than not, that happens, and that's just because they don't think about it. Now, I could be completely talking my ass for the next point, much as I believe every point I've ever done on this particular podcast. But call me crazy. Recall the gun. Recall the gun in episode 4. And how it was CG.
Recalling.
And how it looks out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Alien. Unwelcome. Can you see how, in that particular instance, the CG being bad was either A, deliberate, as in to draw attention to the fact that it was an unwelcome presence in the family home, or B, coincidental, but still serves that purpose nonetheless?
I think probably B is the more likely, but the fact that there could be a narrative reason for it is nice. And I appreciate it.
I mean, I said to you when we were discussing Cardo, like, without getting too deep into Cardo's, like, mythology and lore, like, that when the characters in that show or the people, got attuned to the higher dimension, that, they could transition from 2D to, 3D to show that they are different people.
Right.
CG on its own being bad is not a question necessarily of technical fidelity. It's not a question, like, how bad or good it looks just purely in a vacuum. If you, like, for example, have some PS2, like, level looking shit on your screen, that alone does not make it bad on its own. You can even use something that looks bad as an artistic statement. And again, I don't know if Ikuhara did this deliberately or not, because it's the only CG thing that I'm aware of, with the exception of the signs,
right,
and also the otter stage and such. But they're fine; they're acceptable. But seeing it, being held in Toy's hands like that, and it just floating around almost listlessly in the air, like it, had some sort of Half-Life 2 gravity gun shit going on with it. It really did strike me as being out of place. And it's a gun being held by a 13-year-old kid. Of course it's fucking out of place. So, yeah, that was legitimately good shit if that was intentional. And if not, it still works regardless.
The color of it was very odd. It seemed like copper colored.
It looks like they sort of the model straight out of Far Cry 2. Shit game, by the way, don't play it.
Listen, don't start this discussion on this channel. That's one of the most divisive games ever made. There's some people that love... People love that shit. Like, there are some really academic, game studies people that love the shit out of Far Cry 2. And there's people that really hate it. So, I don't want to have that discussion here.
Well, see me after school, folks. I'll have a discussion with you. And I'll show you how wrong you are.
Oh, yeah, the gun wasn't CG in previous episodes. I mean, that's true, Tulubel, yeah. I don't know. It just seems very generous. I mean, I would love for it to be. I'd love for you guys to be right, that they were like, yes, let's do it for this reason, make it look this way.
It is so dark. You and I have said many times that, what the author ultimately intends and what the outcome is are indeed disconnected a little bit. So, I'm still happy with it regardless.
Right.
I mean, all we'd be giving then is just, academic props to Ikuhara, but nonetheless, regardless of what was behind that decision, the effects on it from me was indeed profound.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So in episode 4, the thing that struck me... Well, I won't say that. There's a lot that struck me about this episode, actually, but the first thing I'll point out is how... I think it's really interesting how the boys all kind of misdiagnose each other and themselves when it comes to their issues. So, you have in... I think it was... I can't remember if it was episode 2 or 3, but Inta is telling Toy, back off, Kazuki. Kazuki's nothing like you. And we have actually seen that, well, they actually are quite alike in that they're willing to cross moral boundaries that you, Inta, are not for the sake of their brothers.
Was Inta pulling a peanut butter gamer? There's your relevant drama for this week.
Fuck. Speaking of things that I want to bring up on this channel, fucking hell. Let's keep that whole extended universe away from us.
I will say no more than that. If you're in on it, you get one.
Yeah. And you also have Toy saying to Enta, why don't you give up on Kazuki? Kazuki keeps disappointing you. Kazuki keeps letting you down. Kazuki keeps making you these promises and not coming through. Why don't you get wise to it? Why don't you ditch him? Whenever, Toy kind of can't perceive that someone outside of his situation would look at him and say, this is the way that you are relating to your own brother. Someone could easily say, this is a problem you have in your life, right? And Enta, of course, is just all over Toy. We said, you are so bad, you're a lawbreaker, you are this awful person who's transgressed the moral boundaries, certainly by killing someone, but even before the murder, the audience would be like, you've waterboarded someone, or you do the weed and make the weed. But Enta also, when no one is looking, is transgressive of these other kind of boundaries that he thinks that he can rationalize to himself, I'll just do this. It's okay. At least in the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels in how they are attributing problems that they themselves have to the other people, or just not seeing obvious things about themselves that they see in each other.
well, they're still immature kids, and on top of that, they don't have the picture. Like, this is the audience character disconnect that I mentioned before, where, we can be privy to things. We're living from that, omnipresent perspective in this show. Well, I say that loosely when it comes to Sarazanmai for a very good reason. But nonetheless, they don't have the faculties that we do, or the knowledge we do, or the morality, the ethical, knowledge, or calculus, whatever you call it. So it's understandable that they do that. This actually is on something I was going to talk about with regards to what I think is actually a kind of eye-opening thing about what Sarazanmai has taught me about media in general. So, buckle up for a little bit of a ramble here.
Is this one of those like Twitter threads where you're like, sit down, boys and girls, and it's time for Professor Shadon to talk to you about some history. Buckle up.
Man Shadon, specifically. There's no professorism here. So here's the thing, right? This is actually one of the reasons why it's good that we've covered both episode 4 and 5 at the same time on this podcast.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, right? The reveal at the end of episode 5 of what happened with Haruka is a flashback that we see, but Enter and Toy do not, because the leak has ended at that. They've only got a partial picture. Similarly, the various things that happen with the sober shop with Toy in episode 4, the other characters are not privy to. And one of the key things that Sarazanmai is saying to us is that, there are some things that we should talk openly about and should, properly give due context to. At least if nothing else, to give other people a chance to, truly understand what's going on in our lives. But consider, the arc of knowledge that sounds very pretentious, but just bear with me here. How much knowledge the characters are getting versus what we're getting. The key to good drama, in my opinion, is that you build up over time to a climax. Sexual as that sounds. You start building up, you foreshadow, you let reveals come in, you have the big moment at the end, the moment, where the characters are at their worst, and then they triumph. But that is antithetical to how we should operate in real life with each other, in that we should, try and be open and honest as early as we are capable to do so, and, solve our problems through communication that way. And I think Sarazanmai maybe realised that, because all of the stuff that happens with Toy, where he gives all that, he doesn't give the context as to why he ended up murdering that, Swan, Makusa boss guy.
Yeah, Super Saiyan 3 man.
Yeah, he doesn't give the context that. The context is something we're privy to, but the other characters are not. And I'm not ultimately excusing him murdering him. I can understand, again, this is the sympathy thing. I can understand, even if I don't agree with it. But Toy doesn't provide that context then, but does to us. That's the disconnect here.
Right.
So Sarazanmai, in its own way, is operating on two levels where the characters should really get everything off their chest as soon as they possibly can, but the drama demands that we deliver that later on in order to give a proper payoff. And that's kind of astounding when you think about it that way. How we talk to each other and how we communicate in real life, and indeed what these characters need to do, is antithetical to the actual good build-up of drama that the show has been working on.
Yeah, that is interesting, actually.
I should stress
a lot
this
to
is
think
not criticism,
about.
by the way. This is not criticism, by the way, but just think of how this show compartmentalizes what it reveals in flashbacks versus what it reveals via the leaks and all the other elements.
Yeah.
There's a very deliberate thing going on here where, we, the audience, get to see things that the characters are not privy to, even though they have an in-universe diegetic mechanism for seeing things they would never otherwise be privy to in the first place.
Yeah, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's very much like a we all know Iku loves the theater. It's very much like a play, right? We get to see everything, but not all the actors are present for all the scenes, so they don't know. There's no internal monologue. Everything that's presented is presented on the stage. So yeah, no, this is interesting. Interesting thing to think about. Yeah, I mean, well, it's like, I mean, look, you're gonna shoot me from across the pond, but I'm gonna, Darling in the Franxx, right? No,
I'm okay with that.
Artificially like extended all of its drama by just having the characters not talk to each other, discuss issues with each other.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's just, I don't know. It's done way better here. I mean, I'm not always thinking, why aren't they telling each other X, Y, and Z? These are extremely personal things that wouldn't make as much sense to talk about for no reason.
Yeah. But it's like I've said to you before, though, like, we don't naturally, in real life, tell each other the entirety of our inner thoughts or our own experiences or history.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Partly because we can't, because, like, I mean, I've been alive for, like, 31 plus years now. Mm-hmm. But I can't tell you every single second of that time that I've spent alive. That's impossible. And secondly, because, we often feel embarrassed or reticent or unable to talk about, the things we've done. So it's understandable that the kids won't necessarily, the kids as well, they don't have, like, the experience and age and all that that hardens people to that. So it's understandable they won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, again, why I'm saying it's in kind of conflict with the whole necessity of drama.
Yeah.
And not a criticism, of course, because I think Sarazanmai, as episode 5 very clearly evidenced, is very good at delivering, gut-punching drama.
Too good. Yeah.
It just felt very, apparent to me how deliberate the show is in terms of, here's a thing that we see, here's a thing that we and the other kids see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to keep in mind going forward, I think, for sure. What did you think about Toy's sort of moral progression from tiny child who was very much like, we shouldn't do bad things, upholding kind of traditional morality that was handed down to him by his parents, to kind of shifting a little bit from that, and like obviously he had eaten based on the money like that his brother had gotten. If
blood money,
like whether or not the brother got the food for him and he ate it, or he got it himself, like he'd been surviving a little bit, like kind of broke the seal on whether stealing is always bad or not. And then go a little bit more, and you see like, well, even if you do bad stuff, something good can come out of it, and that's okay if the ends justify the means. If you get to buy the soba shop and keep everybody in business, maybe it's okay. Like maybe Nissan is super cool because he did all this. He's like the best guy. And then all the way to like, it's okay to do like these things that a lot of people would find horrific, to like protect who you care about, and not even necessarily, I mean, you could argue it was self-defense, but no, like legally it would not be seen as self-defense, you know what I mean? Because the kid sought them out.
He was scared.
Yeah, the brother was not in any imminent danger, legally speaking. I mean, we all know what would have happened to him. But yeah, the kid was, Toy was a lot more proactive and felt, and still feels to this day justified, it seems. Although we'll see if how much his resolve holds on that,
Yeah. Well, he says himself, like, that I will die, or rather, not die, sorry. I'll kill you, I'll kill you all to, preserve my brother's secret.
Mm-hmm.
It was him that did it. Even though in its own way that actually doesn't really work, because you think if he always protects his brother, he would take the heat off him by putting the blame on himself. But, that's a discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
I don't think I can really answer this, because the thing is, like, our moral compasses, like the things that guide us in terms of deciding what is right and wrong, changes our lives go on anyway. He's barely able to ride the fucking teacups at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot to ask him to have a decided moral framework for how he approaches the world.
Yeah,
especially given all the events he's gone through.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally understand, like, on a very primal familial level, why he idolizes his brother as he does. Because who hasn't, like, if you've had an older brother or an older sister, someone of the same gender of you, and I'm not saying that as, like, dismissive of, like, people who've, got older sisters. I'm just saying, like, in terms of, same sex, like older brother, older sister, older sibling, etc.
Right.
Who hasn't looked up to them in some way or another at some point or another. I think that in the right circumstances, when you got someone like, Jackie, who comes in cool and swaggering, like, he's completely in control of himself. He understands the situation perfectly every single time. That you won't think to yourself, he's cool. I'm going to be like him. And I think that's part of what Toy is doing. I think he's passing himself after his brother, not just because of the fact that his brother did that thing for him, where he took the heat for him and also bought the soba shop, but just because he's impressionable and feels that's the way he should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Chiaki's principles seem to have served him adequately. They've worked for him, but will they work for Toy? Because Toy seems to be, how do I put this? He's kind of just inherited, like, bad people survive, and if you don't do bad things, you perish. And if you perish, you're forgotten, and that's the worst thing because no one gives a shit about you. So the best thing you can do is be bad and survive. He's inherited all that. But, like, will that adequately serve his needs going forward? I wonder. I'm not sure.
Well, if I want to, given I've already had at least one right call out on the show, I'm going to make another. Here's the thing, right? It's all well and good to have, like, relationships that you can feel strongly about, that you feel good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to leave things behind. Sometimes, it's better to burn the forest down so you can replant it rather than let it become overgrown and, decrepit, rotten. So consider all the characters that we know of. Consider, Enter's obsession over Kazuki. I said before that Enter, crushing on Kazuki might potentially be a thing that he gets over because while he affirms his sexuality, it's not necessarily that he will always want that person. It'll be a building block on him coming to understand that.
That's right.
With Toy, maybe he'll recognize that his brother is not the how do we put it? I should know this term off the top of my head, but I don't because I'm a moron. Basically, the
center of the universe.
the inspirational figure that he is, that he can be different or better than him. He gave him a start, certainly, and that can't be, forgotten, even despite the context which occurred. He can move on and grow beyond that. And in turn with Kazuki and Haruka, like, he obviously feels a great amount of blame or self-loathing because of what happened to Haruka, which I'd understand. Like, in his shoes, I'd feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point in which he has to, go to himself. I will move on. And that's not to say that he will never interact with Haruka again, but rather that he can, as I say, burn that decrepit, rotten forest down, start fresh. Maybe that's what Sarazanmai is going for in the end. That, the things that we built up all this time, that, the relationships we have, the status quos that we've got, should be torn down to be rebuilt as something new and something better. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you could make that case with Enta for sure, because he's longing for, the golden combi of the past.
You mean the golden balls?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
he's longing for the golden balls, right? I love it when he put his balls on my chest. Was that like a Peter Crouch quote? I think. I love it when Bex puts his balls on my chest. Meaning he passes it to him right in the chest, but we know what it really means.
We're walking.
I think your theory would hold water in Enta's case for sure. Interesting point I thought Emily Rand made on her blog, looking at Kazuki's relationships with the other two boys in his trio, contrasting it with contrasting his relationship with Enta and his relationship with Toy, like the new kind of burgeoning relationship with Toy, versus Enta, and the fact that, like, you might assume it would be easier for him and Enta to get on and reveal things to each other and have like share moments of closeness and revelation, but it's actually seems to be easy for Kazu to do that with Toy because they don't know each other, because you don't have those like associations kind of weighing things down. You know what I mean?
It is absolutely true. There are people who I am very close to in my own life who there are things I would not talk about, and that's not to say that I'm hiding some sort of deep dark secret where it turns out I'm like the Buffalo Bill of Clifton. Please don't dox me, folks. Please don't swap me. But I totally get that. Like, the closer you get to someone, like, the more you feel afraid, not necessarily of revealing something, but more the consequences of that revelation.
The risk. Yeah.
Because you've got more to lose. Like, if, Kazuki reveals something to Toy, like, about some of the shit he's done as a Sarah or whatever, like, he's some random. He's a dude I met through meeting a Kappa. I know that sounds strange. Point being, he can disassociate himself that because it's just a random thing.
Just a bartender.
Yeah. Exactly. Just a bartender. Just a chill stingray.
Mm-hmm.
So, whereas Enter is someone he's known for a lot longer. That's why it's different. So I, again, totally get that.
Mm-hmm. And then the relationship, but I think we could talk more about Toy and Kazuki when we get to episode 5. But, okay, so for 4... remind me. So I can lose the thread on very basic ideas that have been established in the show very early on because I haven't thought about it in a while or it hasn't been reinforced. So the dishes. So what are they and what is their function exactly? They're wish granters?
Right. I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to guess that not one of the kids actually gets a wish granted after the one we saw in the first episode.
Right.
Here's the thing, right?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's very plausible.
Here's the thing, right? I know this doesn't sound like a strange thing to bring up, as I often want to do on this particular podcast, but let's talk about Bruce Almighty for a moment of all fucking...
What the Okay.
No, right. Bear with me in this, right? So, here's the thing, right? Bruce Almighty, fairly ear comedy with, known anti-vaxxer Jim Carrey. Who gives a fuck about him? My point is, though, there was a lesson that came at the end of that from, would-be God Morgan Freeman, and it's stuck with me ever since. He says this, right? Miracles are something you shouldn't pray for. Miracles are something you should make for yourself. And I found that very poignant, even as a kid. Because you can be there praying every night. You can be there, gambling on the lottery, for example. You need a plot point in Bruce Almighty.
Right.
For money. Or you could take actual, genuine action to, improve your lot. To, do the things that you want to do. To make things happen. And indeed, that's the thing that happens in Bruce Almighty. So that stuck with me after the fact. And I think that might very well be the case here. Because... let me ask you a question, Doc.
Okay.
If you're Haruka and you get the necessary dishes of hope, be it gold, silver, bronze, whatever. Sorry, not Haruka. I mean
Kazuki. Yeah.
Yeah. To do what's necessary, to do what you want to do. What would your wish be? What would your wish be? Shoes.
Oh man, if I was Kazuki, I would probably wish that
or rather,
my brother could walk again, or either that. Or that I had gone with my birth mother from the beginning, and maybe that changes time such that Haruka didn't even show up to the train station or didn't have that confrontation and so didn't get pushed into that. So you could do a 2-for-1.
Yeah, indeed, that in itself could be a dilemma on how you expend that wish.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you didn't have that wish, and what do you, as a viewer, want Kazuki to do? Spend more time with Haruka. Actually be the brother he should be.
Yes.
That's not happening.
No.
But the thing is, the power to do that lies in Kazuki's hands, not accepting the fact that he's in a Kappa form right now, but let's just talk generally here. That power is in his hands right now. I already explained previously how he could solve that instantly by taking football again. Like, I said that he would probably drop the Azusa Sarah persona and the dress up if he knew, just because they talk to each other, about how Haruka just wants to see him play football. the fact that they're still using the same phrase, and by the way, again, like, Azusa Sarah, saying that same phrase, like, we're a connected circle. Whoa, fuck. But that's my point. Going back to the Bruce Almighty thing, rather than wait for wishes to come true, rather than wait for these dishes of hope to come true, to become a thing, take action now. You've got all the tools in front of you to make them happen, and I'm not saying they'll be easy, I'm not saying it'll be simple, but you can do that. And maybe that's the lesson that it's going to teach us in the end, similar to that. And that's why I still like that film, even though it's ultimately a kind of forgettable comedy, because it at least had a good lesson behind it.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see how that sort of, like, take agency in your own life, how that figures in with the Capizon boxes and the Otter Empire, like, sort of controlling everyone's desires and things like that, like how those things mesh if they can.
I mean, think of it this way, right? Let's just talk pure numerics here. How many episodes are there in Sarazanmai? I think there's only 10.
11. I think just 11. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So Kepi's only been doling out silver dishes, and I think they've only had 2 or 3 of them so far.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So by the maths alone, not all of the kids are going to get their wishes granted by him anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel more strongly about that being the thing that they realise in the end. Not least of which is also the Kepi's, like, controlling colossal dick shit, but there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So
the reason I asked about the dishes is just to contextualize in my head. Do you think it is worth comparing the 2 boys offering dishes to the other, and looking at those, how they're similar, how they're different? And by the way, I think if Toy offers a silver dish to someone else, to Enta, I guess, to complete the circle, that's going to be like a huge fucking moment in the show, because he's been established as the one who will not let them go. But the other boys have, and Enta, out of like a kind of a misplace is not the right word, but he appears to like be I don't know. It appears to be more selfishly motivated than Kazuki's. Kazuki, when he offers his, it just seems like the light's kind of gone out, or the flame's kind of gone down, I guess, a little bit on his desire. And he's like, wow, Toy, you've really been through some shit. Like, you need this more than I do. Were there any other differences or interesting similarities that you thought about in terms of the dish sacrifice?
About the only thing I can say is I think that it's very easy for people to be self-sacrificing. Like, speaking of myself here, like, I'd probably be like, you need this more than I do. How many times have you done that in your own life, for example? I'm sure the people in the audience can relate to that as well. I can understand why Toy wouldn't, because his ultimate, worldview has been built on by his brother, which is, the strong survive and the weak do not. And he sees that in Enter and Kazuki as being the weak ones. So I think that, like, it's just this weird relationship thing where, well, not even weird really, but more like, how things are mapped out where they feel that kind of way. Because I won't worry about it too much in terms of like similarities right now. But I think that it's understandable, like when we get the, the whole genie and lamp thing, that maybe we don't necessarily think about ourselves firstly. Unless we do. But as Sarazanmai has shown, because you've just talked about it, sometimes not thinking about yourself can be bad in its own way.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Toy is the guy who thinks about himself all the time with his dish. If he got the dishes, it'd be for him. And you're giving them to me. And if you try to argue against it, I'll cut you with a ruler. Simple as that. Enter and Kazuki are like, they're giving their dishes away for various reasons. But arguably, if they could fulfill their wishes, it would be in their benefit. And I talk about it's like as someone who's looking from the outside here, in terms of like, making them better people, than to keep them. So maybe the lesson here is, it's not necessarily, they're giving them away all the time, being that kind of altruistic is the right way. Maybe there's a middle ground.
Yeah.
In fact, this makes me think of something else. And again, it's time for Shadon's obscure reference time, so buckle up, folks. Let's talk about Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Oh, while you talk about KOTOR 2, I have to step out for a brief moment, but I'll be right back. Please
Go
continue.
So, KOTOR 2. I'm not going to bore you all with details about the plot, but suffice to say, there's a moment in which your PC, your player character, meets a beggar. The beggar asks for money. Simple as that. There's nothing too complicated about it. There's nothing too out there about it. And you've got three choices. You can either give the beggar money, ignore them, or threaten them with violence. Now, if you know anything about Star Wars, you can probably guess give money is the light side. Middle is, the neutral term. And, violence is the dark side. Simple as that. But, as the events unfold, if you give money to that beggar, he gets robbed later by two different people. So it just goes to show that even then, this altruism, this, I'm going to do things, I'm going to do right by other people, I'm going to be self-sacrifice, I'm going to give them something that I own materially that will make their lives better, is not necessarily a good thing. It's like the old phrase of, teaching a man to fish. Like, you give a man a fish, that'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and it'll feed him for a lifetime. And so that's why I think in this case, Sarazanmai is telling us, okay, these kids could do a lot of great things with these wishes if they wanted to. They're trying to give them away or trying to keep them or hoard them necessarily. But neither of these things are necessarily good in their cases. In Toy's case, I would argue it's probably best that he, disconnects from his brother, to use the terminology of the show. Because his brother, while doing the familial thing for him, taking that fall from him, and it is indeed something that is quite, quite important to him. Let's, think of all those various, fairy tale stories. Doc's just arrived, so we have to re-educate in context. So Doc, just to pick up where we left off. So let's talk about KOTOR 2, but I'm now going to move on to fairy tale stories very quickly.
Okay.
You have read Sleeping Beauty, or at least have watched the Disney film of it, I assume, and you know the basic plot.
Maybe.
Okay, so Sleeping Beauty, kissed by a prince at the end, and they marry and they're happy ever after.
Uh-huh.
But here's the thing. Why did they do that? Because of a sense of obligation to the rescue or the person who saved them? That's not right when you examine it on paper, is it? That they should go so far, be so closely knit with that person just because they did them that thing. That doesn't mean they don't show them gratitude, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a middle ground. And so I think Toy, while obviously not doing the same thing exactly, is in a similar boat. Where, particularly bear in mind that he's only a kid and doesn't have, again, the maturity of age or wisdom or experience. He feels like, a sense of gratitude, almost fantastical gratitude to his older brother for doing that for him. And again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't. Feels some sort of gratitude at the very least, because his brother did a great thing for him.
Yeah.
Awful thing, but great thing nonetheless by taking a hit for him. Could potentially have been killed as a result. But that doesn't mean that Toy is beholden to him in a blood debt that means that he will suddenly evaporate into the mist if he doesn't do it. He has his own life to lead. And his own, personality and world to develop.
They all three feel beholden to someone else very deeply. Mm-hmm. You've got, as you said, Toy to Chiaki. You've got Enta to Kazuki, and Kazuki to Haruka, and also to his kind of own sense of guilt. And yeah, they're just willing to transgress all these, uncrossable moral thresholds, so to speak, to preserve that relationship, to keep the facade going, to eke out a little bit more hope that something might go their way. And that was one of my next talking points too, is when does that kind of justification end? Do you know what I mean? Because like you were saying, that kind of gratitude, what's the end of it? What kind of obligation is right to expect from something like that?
I don't think that's anything you can really answer broadly because it's going to vary from situation to situation, person to person. But here's the thing, right? I think that in Toy's case, we certainly need more context because we know his perspective. He wants to be close to his brother. He wants to live with him. I've seen episode 4. But his brother's keeping him at arm's length. But do we know why his brother's doing it? Because I can think of 2 reasons off the bat why he's doing it. One, because he's trying to protect him.
That's what he said at the beginning, I think.
And maybe that's legitimate. Maybe that is genuine. Mm-hmm. Or maybe because he can't be arsed with him. You're a burden on me. Fuck off. You go, look off. You go, live in the attic in the sober shop. Do the P5 lifestyle. Right. I don't give 2 fucks.
This is what I mean when I say that, like, he's even more similar to Enta than he can see. Because they both have people that are pushing them away.
Absolutely. And as for Enta, like, he's beholden to Kazuki, but in some way he's actually taking Kazuki's place as Haruka's, like, older, like, he's taking him out to the fucking family.
I know.
And
with the family, spend so much time with that family, Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to, try and belittle people. I say so. Like, you're taking someone who's wheelchair bound. That is a, demand on you. It's it requires a level of effort and investment. You can't go wandering off. Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything like that. And Enta's doing that in space of, the actual fucking older brother, be it biological or found family, whatever you want to fucking call it. So, I mean, this is the thing that I love about Sarazanmai, now that we're, 5 episodes in it. Like, there's shades and layers to all of the relationships. I mean, it's easy if you watch the first 2 minutes of episode 4, for example, to write Toy's brother, Chiaki, as a fuck. An uncaring, soulless bastard who just murders people for shits and giggles and, could not give less of a crap about his brother than the excrement on his boot. Simple as that. But then you watch it and you realise, look, he has done, is doing, dubious shit. But he clearly cares for his brother because he, basically martyrs himself in one form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Protects him.
Yeah. And life really put them into a fucking corner,
It put them through the blender. And Enta, like I said before, he's done some, less than tasteful shit in terms of Kazuki playing a wooden instrument. Nice one, Enta. You clearly didn't watch. You're clearly not as savvy as you otherwise should.
That's Enta's Twitter display name. Is less than tasteful shit. I'm pretty sure.
But like I said before, when it comes to his sister, the person in his life who he probably could feel quite envious and even despondent about, like, oh fuck, if something happens to her, fine, karmic destiny, all that. Then he still jumps into the line of fire to save her. As for Kazuki, I mean, well, his complexity is out there. I mean, let's break this down. He's an adopted son, the first adopted son. I mean, in fact, let's even boil down further, right?
Okay.
This is speculation, really, because this is one of the criticisms I have of this particular episode, in that we don't know enough about Kazuki's adopted parents to actually draw genuine conclusions about his disillusionment with them, because he seems to dislike them in some respects. But we don't know how they've treated him throughout the years. I mean, in the run-up to episode 5, I thought to myself, why is he here, Haruka? And going with the lifelong theory that's now been disproven, I thought, well, it's understandable, if you have a kid who is paralyzed, that they would get more attention than the kid who is not. That doesn't make it right, doesn't make it fair, it doesn't make it equitable, but it's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that out of the way, I then asked myself, okay, why does Kazuki feel so disconnected from his parents? Or rather, his, adopted parents?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I think the show should probably establish this by now. Is it because Haruka's taking all the attention? That can't be true, because it must be relatively recent.
It's because of the fucking grandfather, right? Your mother was a sloppy woman!
I'm generally surprised he didn't flip him off when when he was dying, because he knew that rigor mortis was assessing. They couldn't like this, like, I can't sort the finger out.
Come on, man. What? People doing stuff to kids in this show. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
I mean, I hope that funeral was an open casket if he did flip them off as he was dying.
I know.
That would have been awkward.
So, can we, before it passes out of my view too much, Tallulah in chat said, this is a slight change of subject, and we can get back to what you're talking about. I just wanted to address, she says, I don't think Toy wanting his only family member to be in his life is just out of obligation. I don't think he should just cut his brother out of his life. I don't think, no. I don't think we meant to say that.
I think to put it clearly, what I meant to say was, when you burn the forest down, to follow my analogy before, you regrow it. You start again. You don't walk away from it. You don't leave it behind entirely. But sometimes part of being friends, family, lovers, partners, you call it, is sometimes realizing that you need to rebuild the framework on which your relationship works.
That's a really good way to put it, right? I mean, it's like you go from kind of, well, we were born together, to realizing, like, I can choose who I spend my time with and who I love and who I care about. We got this foundation of time already there, so that's, but why else do I care about this person? Why else do I love this person? Why else do I want to be with this person? And yeah, that you have all that. And I guess, like, how are we talking about obligation with it? I guess just in terms of, like, the life he's choosing to lead, in terms of, like, being a criminal and carrying a gun around, like, I don't know. Where was I trying to go with that? Fucking can't remember. God damn it. Shit. Basically just echo my point earlier. Like, I'll just repeat it, that, like, at what point, you know, does the gratitude that he has for the kind of what his brother did for him go from good for him to, like, bad for him? That's the only thing I wanted to point out. But anyway.
That is a fair point, because in the context of the show, like, you know, since the start of the show, and not counting the flashbacks, like, Toy's behaviour, apart from the fact that he's torturing, well, that was his brother, admittedly, and he was watching, if I recall correctly. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not doing anything too untoward. Mm-mm. It's giving him confidence and all that, so that's something, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe this is another thing that might be a little bit flawed in the show, and, like, that maybe, you know, if you really peel it away and just boil it down to basics, that, you know, Toy is actually not seemingly in a bad state in his life right now. I don't know. Maybe this will be something that gets unveiled more in time. But yeah, like, I think that, you know, I again really appreciate the show for its complexity of its layers upon which they're all built. Because that's how life works. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not as simple as, you know, this is my sister and I've, you know, known her from, you know, the day I was born and I loved her to death and all that. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be little things, bumps in the road, things that texture that relationship and make it more complicated.
Yeah. Speaking of complicated... Nope, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I'm done. Carry on.
Okay. Complicated relationships. Speaking of, why, in your opinion, does Kazuki envy Toy?
Well, I think that's fairly put and dry, which is that if Toy wants something, he can take it. And I'm not saying that Kazuki doesn't and can't take it, but rather, like, I think that it's a question of, you know, the will to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, if Toy wanted anything he wanted in the world, because given the fact his brother has shown him, because of the thing that he's done, he'd probably do that. Mm-hmm. And yes, Kazuki did end up stealing that cat. And yes, he's doing the thing where he's cross-dressing as Kazu and Sarah. I get that. But even there are lines he will not. And so maybe he's, you know, reflecting on what Toy's done, given the light of, you know, episode 4, and thinking, wow, I've done some shit. I can cross some boundaries. But could I will never cross that. I'll never be as, free,
Yeah.
quote unquote, and unrestrained as he is.
Yep. I think that's huge. Because I feel like what I took away from the episode was
In fact,
yes.
Question for you, just to interrupt very quickly.
Go ahead.
Maybe this will be a poll as well. Given the circumstances, if he couldn't kidnap Azusa Sarah but could instead murder her, would Kazuki do it?
Oh my god. Oh boy. That might be a lot more complicated than he's willing to something that he's willing to take on.
Well, that answer alone speaks volumes.
Oh, what were we just talking about, by the way? Yeah, why does he envy him? He's free, right? Because because like Kazuki is just a prisoner of his own making, and like and when he decides to not go with his birth mother, and then I guess changes his mind later. We'll see how that plays out. Like, you could tell in that scene kind of how he was relating, like the body language and the acting and the way he was talking and the look in his eyes, like he really felt a connection with her, like, oh, like this is special, like, yes. But then he had to pull back, because he's like, I have this obligation. Mm-hmm. I have this obligation to Haruka and my other family. And that only continued to grow after Haruka's accident. Like, now he's totally like a prisoner of that. And he's like a prisoner now of this second life he's made to create, like you said, distance between himself and the situation, to kind of sort of pacify his own anxieties and fears about it. Yeah, I don't think he feels free to do particularly anything. I mean, he feels like he has to punish himself and keep punishing himself.
Yeah, because he said himself, he said himself in the first episode, he was messed up because he was doing that cross-dressing. Yeah. So clearly, this is not something that he necessarily enjoys for its own sake. I mean, again, with the massive fucking caveat that I am a, cue ball looking cishet motherfucker who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't get the impression that this is a dysphoria kind of thing, and that he might potentially be leaning into, change gender if he might. Again, talking out my arse because I don't know what I'm talking about because of my inherent attributes. But clearly, from what I understand, from what I've seen in the show, he doesn't like doing that. Given the circumstance, he wouldn't do that. He
may like it, but I don't think he would have. It's like, now that he's doing it, he might like it, but he probably didn't like the idea of it. I don't know. Who knows? It's speculation.
Well, here's the thing, right? I just want to speak very briefly about the direction again. So when Kazuki loses the wig, I thought this was genius, actually. I thought this was absolute genius in terms of how it displayed him as a person. Because he essentially has been living two lives. He's been living the life of the fake Azusa Sarah as himself. And then when he stood in front of Kepi's shrine, that's when he becomes the gestalt of them too.
Right.
We see a man divided between two identities. And bear in mind what happened in episode 4 with him echoing the Dish mannerisms, adding them at the end. He was very natural at that.
Really inhabited the character, which I loved. Exactly. I loved him like going up and hugging Toy and saying Dish, like really just being Sarah. That was great.
Exactly. So, like, I appreciate the complexity of which that's being delivered. And at the same time, like, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. This is what I get for drinking vodka.
This is happening a lot on the stream. Sorry, everybody. We can't keep our ideas straight.
So, yeah, like, no, I really like that element that, he clearly visually displayed him as a kind of, like, split personality kind of thing. And who could say if that'll be resolved in? In fact, that's the thing I was going to predict as well. Throwing this prediction out there, final boss, quote unquote, of this particular show will be Azusa Sarah.
Could very well be.
Well,
Kappa
think of it this way. Who's providing all of the material, so to speak, quote unquote, for the Otter Cops? Azusa Sarah. She's the root cause of it.
Would seem that way, yeah.
So she's removed. Then obviously, they can't have their desires fed.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's no desire template set for everyone else,
And if she were raised in the same manner as, say, the rest of the characters who were caught by the Otter Cops, like, Azusa Sarah is, at least for Haruka and Kazuki, the thing that binds them together.
Mm-hmm. The
barrier, even, that they put between each other.
Yeah.
So if she was gone, that would bring them together.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and you think about, like, the implications for this show if Sarah were to go away. What is everyone supposed to desire? And what does that say about...
Yeah.
What does that say about, if, clearly I think this is meant to be, in some sense, a mirror of reality. And so what is it saying about us and our own society and such? Yeah. So, or getting back to Kazuki envying Toy and the freedom. So, yeah, I mean, like, I guess you could say, like, Kazuki doesn't leave because Haruka would be upset, but, like, what evidence is there to show that, like, he cares that much about that? You know what I mean? Like, he said, like, I do this charade with the Sarah thing. It was really for me. I hate Haruka. He's clearly deeply resentful of Haruka. I mean, at one point when they were younger, I think he had a, like, kind of a more healthy, loving, conventional relationship with him. And then after the fucking old man died and he learned he was adopted, like, that threw all that into a tailspin. And it's colored the way he's seen everything. Like, Haruka is mom and dad's real kid, and I'm the fake kid. Like, it created that distance there. And, that resentment has only continued to grow. And, I mean, it's like, it reminded me some of, like, like when so my mom had to take care of my grandmother in her, like, later in life, and my grandmother couldn't really do anything for herself. And it's like one of those things where you love the other person, so you're going to do all this for them because you love them, but the sacrifice and, like, the toll on your own mental well-being and all the time it takes can create some pretty deep resentment for the person that you're taking care of. And I think that those kind of dual opposing feelings are at war in Kazuki. And not to mention, like, so on top of all that you add the final element to the cocktail of Kazuki feels like he's the reason that Haruka has become paralyzed, and he feels like, I think the fact that no one will blame him or punish him for it makes him feel like almost like a weird dissociation with reality. You know what I mean? Because he's like, I obviously did it. I obviously should be punished. Why is no one punishing me? Like, why isn't this happening? This is what should happen. And it's not happening, and it just, I think, feeds into this disconnect he feels with everything in his life, and why he wants to punish himself. Looking, I don't know, like, what is he looking for? I wonder, like, where, like, what's the end point? Maybe there's not one. Maybe it's just how he sort of sees himself living at the minute.
It's hard because we're only halfway through the show if you want to round down. And I think this is going to take a lot of soul searching on his part. I mean, the thing is, the secret's out. That's it. There's no turning that clock back. They will return to their human forms at some point, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But one has to ask the question, like, will the time between in which they, between now and when that happens, be the time in which Kazuki, realizes or understands how he has to, talk to Harograph the facts. And I'm not saying that he necessarily needs to, have the right answer, just at least he comes to understanding. It's difficult, man. Like, I don't think even they know.
Yeah.
And I think that, the point at which... it's like I said, the whole Azuzafara thing disappearing. If she disappeared, it would make life it would rewrite, life to be a lot easier for them. But I'm also of the opinion that maybe the thing that he needs to realize is that he can shed that skin that he's been wearing, that persona, that costume, and just be a fucking brother. He already made the decision, after all, to stick with that fake family, quote unquote, and then maybe you turned on that because he's indecisive. Not a ununderstandable thing for a kid that age. You flip flop back and forth, and I do all the time on serious stuff, and I'm like twice his fucking age. So I know it's basically, I think the answer to that question is going to be watch more of the show, damn it.
Yeah, I wonder. Clearly at bottom, he's got some love for Haru. He's got to. I feel like, even though I was saying there's that sense of obligation, and that's the chief reason why he stayed with his adoptive family. There's got to be more than that, but I don't know if he believes that that's the case, because at some point in the show, I think this near the beginning of this episode, he says Haruka and I are connected even though it's not real. Like, I thought that was a really interesting line. Like,
well, it begs the question, like, at what point, like, I've said to you before, like, that in The Promised Neverland, that fake experiences still have genuine value.
Right.
So, I can totally see, for example, a scene later on in this show's run where Haruka, in his own 12 or 10-year-old or 8-year-old way, however old he is, says, okay, look, you did a shitty thing, but you did it because you cared. And that's fine. Indeed, we even kind of got that with the fact that he was calling after him after the fact when he was running away.
Yep. Still wanted to see him.
Yeah. So maybe even, this is the point where fake connections and, false, relationships or relationships that are laboured under a fiction of some sort still have value.
Yeah, I think that would be a good lesson. Like, not to undercut completely those kind of connections and experiences, because those are increasingly becoming what people have and what's normal.
Indeed. So
you've already talked about why you thought Kazu lost to the Kappa zombie and what was different. So we've talked about that. Oh boy. Well, I don't even want to know if I want to ask this next question I have. Do you have anything else in your notes?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Oh boy. I don't feel like I said anything I wanted to say or came to any conclusions. The whole thing feels rather aporetic, which is I guess fitting about a show regarding
this is the thing about
coming through tight openings.
I'm gonna just pretend that you didn't pretend to be the TSA there, and I'm gonna talk about something else instead. Which is say that this is the thing about doing this format. Like, we can talk week on week about it. We can understand as it unfolds, but like more so than other shows I think we've covered on stream before, like Ikuhara's like works, and this one in particular lends itself to allowing a gradual failing, like dismantling a Matryoshka doll.
Right.
So we'll see. But yeah, I don't really have much else to add than that. So I suppose now is the time that we can rate the episode if we're up for it. Do you want anything else to talk?
No, we can. We can rate. I guess. Well, Did your
Go on, you want to ask me that question? You want to ask that question? Try me.
Well, this is a different one. Did your ranking of the boys change at all these past couple weeks? If you had to rank the protagonists in order of best boydom.
I'm just gonna provide the cop-out answer on this, which is to say it's an apple to an orange to a lemon. They're all fucked, just in their own way.
They are. That is true. But they all, but we can all see like why, or I guess we can all empathize to a greater or lesser extent. Like, you know,
this is like I said to you before. Like, we have been given context on all of them that leads us to understand, even if we necessarily don't agree with their actions. Like, I wouldn't agree, for example, with Toy murdering that guy. Not that
Jesus.
I can immediately not that I can immediately think of an alternative solution, but it solved the issue nonetheless. So that's fine. Same with Enter, like I said previously. Clearly got some issues. Does some stupid shit. But comes through in the end for his sister in particular. Kazuki. His, whole Azusa Sara thing is a very twisted form of love for his younger brother. He would never probably explain it in those terms, but that is true. So, ultimately, I empathise with all of them. I understand why they did it. Why they did the various things they did. But that doesn't make them right. But as I've told you before, like, I think that it's probably very, understandable that people, both in real life and in fiction, fuck up before they do right.
Especially, like, I mean, kids, right? Like, just bundles of emotions and hormones.
Well, this is why I said to you about things like Donor and all the various media that we talks about. It's very easy to forget that these are kids.
Yeah.
And they're kids younger than what we're used to in these shows, which is usually around the 16 mark. So it's very easy for us as adults who have, again, the time behind us, the wisdom and experience. Granted, I'm still kind of deficient in that area. I'm working on it. Trust me on that. But
Ashlinks was 17. # never forget.
Exactly. So my point being is that this is again another reason why I really like Sarazanmai. Like, there are shows I've watched in my time, like both live action and animated, be it from East or West, where varying degrees they establish adequate motivations and reasons why the characters act as they do, even if they do horrible things. But that's the thing. Like, it's not as simple as black and white. It's not as simple as, this person good, this person bad. When this person is grey, and they're sat in the middle, and people can argue for days on end about whether they were right or wrong. That to me is the mark of good fiction.
Yes. I'm okay with some moral black and whiteness from time to time.
There are times and places for it. I will concede that. Maybe I was being too broad on the statement, but yeah.
So we did forget, or I did forget, in chat here. Oh my, Johor, G.
Zure.
Yes, talks about the Haruka sachet, and Haruka being a he, by the way. That he had, at one point, it was at post credits where Kazuki was like, "Why does Haruka have a sachet that has mom's smell? What the fuck is happening there? Like, are they actually both adopted, brother? Like, there's." Yeah, I mean, who knows where this could go, right? This could go a million different places, but that was
next time
crazy.
On Sarazanmai.
Yes, as our anime soap opera turns.
I mean, I need to do that in the Batman 1960s show, which is next time on Sarazanmai. Biff, wham.
Yeah,
Kazuki.
That was craziness. Both of the last post-credit sequences I have not been prepared for, so I don't know what next week will have in store for us.
We will see.
I'm going to say Toy is my number one at the minute for
wow,
best.
the murderers.
Yeah, the most. I think easily the most. Like, I mean, and I have empathy for all of them, but for me, Toy is like the most sympathetic. I mean, he really does seem like.
He's got the
his
least
hand was very
interpersonal
forced.
baggage.
Yeah, his hand was so forced, and so yeah. For me, he's ranking at the top of the list. And then
what does that say about the show where you feel that way, though?
I know.
And that's not criticism, by the way. That's me actually applauding it, where the complexity of the characters and their personalities and their histories make you rank the guy who murdered another guy as the best person. Holy shit.
The inverse relationship with the severity of the crime and the human. Like, how you feel about the human.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
all right, so let's rate the episodes anyway. Let's send this home.
Well, man, this is tough. Cause
I can lead it if you want.
Okay, well, I guess I think I'll give them both like 4.5, 4 3/4. Like, they were both extremely good, extremely engaging for different reasons. Like, I loved everything about Toy's backstory and how it was presented, and just to get to delve deeper into him. But also, that fucking moment in episode 5 when Kazuki's sort of scheme was revealed to all, like that he as fraud was placed, bare on stage before everyone, and I mean, that was just like a gut punch. Like, that's...
Yeah.
To feel those raw feelings is like why I like watch things. Like, why I like stories.
Exactly. So
I'll give them 4.75 bathwater filled soba bowls out of 5.
Ouch. I'm gonna rate the episodes differently. I'm gonna give episode 4, which is Toy's episode, I'm going to give that 4.25 CG guns out of 5. And here's the thing, bro. Like, it was a damn solid character episode, but it didn't lose its moments of levity, it didn't lose its moments of humor. Like, tonally, it flowed beautifully from one to the other. We've got moments like, where you've got a family who have been destroyed due to, unforeseen circumstances, mixed with, oh, I'm a cross-dressing guy, chatting with my friend who's a criminal, and I'm going to flirt with him, and he's going to be embarrassed. And it never felt derogatory. It never felt forced. That's the beauty of the writing in this show. It just flows from one thing to another without being awkward. And I'm going to give the following episode 4.5 manages locked in the toilet out of 5. And this is the thing, right? I again bring up the point I said before, where I thought to myself,
why is Toy so bad at kidnapping?
There's that. But the chip that they had in their hand of, Kazuki revealing or being revealed to Haruka that he has been cosplaying or pretending to be Azusa Sarah. When do you cash that in? When do you gamble that moment? And for me, not only did they gamble it early, but it paid off so magnificently. I mean, we got to understand Kazuki's motivations more from this as a result, be it through what he says to his fellows or what we see through the flashbacks. It was massively built up to. But at the same time, like I said before, the episode does not lose its sense of fun. I laughed my ass off at Toy trying to keep Azusa Sarah under control. That was some good shit. That was slapstick. But it didn't actually come out of place, even when he's sticking fucking swords into her, out of nowhere. That entire subsection, that scene, would have been excised, and you would have lost any sort of sense from it, because it doesn't make sense, even in context. But it was super fucking good. And again, that's what I'll criticize my fault. If I had one complaint, again, like I say, I just wish there had been more context delivered on the relationship between Kazuki and his adopted parents, because his dislike of them isn't anywhere near fleshed out enough to justify his dislike thereof.
Right.
Like, this is why I said before, like, if Haruka's issue of paraplegia had been lifelong, I could immediately rationalize that in my own head as an audience member, why that was. Because it's easy to understand why an older child would be, hateful of a younger one who has a disability.
Yeah.
Not that makes it right.
Right. Here's what we do see. I mean, we see Kazuki putting distance between himself and his adoptive parents. We don't see them trying to close the distance at all, which I think is telling.
That's true, but we have so little
Haruka.
time with...
That's true.
Yes, we have so little time with them that I can't presume that's just be their default state.
Yeah.
I don't know how they would have done it differently. And
I mean, there's you want to give your kids space at times. Being too involved and active and all in their stuff is not the way to go either.
Yeah. And on top of that, if it is legitimately the case that they were being neglectful to him for whatever reason, that's fine as far as narrative goes. Like, you could do anything in a narrative. Like, you can have characters do horrific things if it's in service of a story that justifies the action. So that, being the thing is fine. But we spent so little time with the family beyond how it relates to Haruka specifically and not to Kazuki, that felt lacking to me. But given how quickly we progress things, and again, I'm glad that Ikuhara cashed that chip in early.
Yeah.
So we can now... Because as much as it would have been a thing to, have Kazuki reveal to Haruka at the end of the show that, oh yeah, I've been, pretending to be Sarah, doing it early opens up a lot of opportunities going forward for good storytelling and good drama.
Yes.
It's not... There's no clean win here. There's no 5 out of 5 answer. But I'm glad that they did what they did.
Yeah, they could have treaded water, and they didn't do that. Now I feel like you've got probably 2 more like character episodes that you should. I mean, unless you want to do 2 character episodes per boy, which I don't necessarily think they have to do. Like, I think you do need one for the Otter Cops, at least one, and I think you need probably one for the Kappas, Kepi and Sarah. If not
definitely.
One each. So like you got 2 or 3 there that you've got to take care of, and then the other time you got to like maybe you could squeeze in more character episodes, but I don't know, like that's not that much time left to like move the story forward to some sort of resolution. Which I guess has been the knock with the more recent Ikuhara offerings, is that the landing might not have been stuck as well as the beginning and the middle parts. But we'll see.
I'm happy to see how though, because like these 5 episodes thus far have been all very strong. So I'm willing to put my faith in it that they will stick the landing.
Okay, let me revisit Twitter really fast here before we sign off. So
can I just say, I was visiting Twitter before, so you have a tweet out about if I was pissed when I started the stream. That is true now, but at the start, not so. People still believed it, so thanks, folks. And secondly, the thing that made me chuckle was also, should we buy him a bath? So basically, if you're new to Warui Deshou, you probably think I'm some sort of unwashed, unvarnished fucking hobo who spends his time out of a brown paper bag. And that's not true. I'm an unwashed, unvarnished hobo who spends his time drinking outside of a stein. Get it right.
That's right. Details are very important to us here. So, the polls thus far. Did Shadon start episode 4 or 5 stream drunk?
You spelled drunk wrong, by the way. I saw that.
It's spelled correctly.
Turned.
Yeah, turned.
Turn.
Yeah.
What the fuck is turn?
Turned that you're pissed, right? That you're fucking that you're wasted, that you're drunk.
Oh man.
80% so far in the early days say you're turned. Should we buy
Thanks,
Shadon?
everyone.
Should we hashtag buy Shadon a bath? Now is leading early days with 71%.
If that wins, I'm starting a GoFundMe.
You should. And did you have to pause episode 5 when the shit really hit the fan? Right now, again, it's very early. You have a whole week left to vote. At Warui Deshou on Twitter. 83% say no, they didn't have to pause. In fact, they eat the drama. They eat it up like breakfast cereal in the morning. So I will be voting staunchly in the other camp later today for that. And those are the polls.
Indeed. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part in those.
Yep.
So let's wrap up then. If you've already done so, feel free to subscribe to us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on YouTube. This is the first time, by the way, I believe that we've been broadcasting both on YouTube and Twitch simultaneously, so I hope you've all enjoyed it, whether, platform you might be watching it on.
Yeah, I saw a person on Twitch at the beginning, but I haven't seen them in a while. Hello, thank you.
I think they migrated over.
Okay, so I'm gonna... The way I have chat now, I can't actually participate in it. So I've been trying to address comments that have come up as they come up, but I don't know. Maybe we'll work that out. Maybe we won't. Who can say?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say, if you did enjoy this stream and you've enjoyed our works, please do take time to leave us both a rating and a review on iTunes or SoundCloud with it. Forum, you get the chance to do so. It helps our discoverability. We would immensely appreciate it. But otherwise, to our audience, thank you all so much for joining us this evening, for however long you may have joined us for. Again, always good to have people of all shapes and colours, come join us, off their opinions. We will be back. It will not be next week, unfortunately, because I'm actually on a stag do next weekend.
Oh, congrats, I guess.
I'm gonna be in Dublin, so I'm gonna be looking up to the fuck. So it'll probably be the Monday or the Tuesday of the week after, when we'll cover Sarazanmai episode 6. I hope you've all enjoyed it anyways, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Do you have anything else you want, Dog?
Yeah, just a future plug. So this past weekend, I recorded with our favorite podcast buds, the Anime is Lit duo, Danny and Kay.
Big shout out to them. I got to do the Ancient Ride with both of them, and also with Emrys Concepts. Bethany, I believe the name. I'm going to misremember her name, and she's probably going to stab me for that. But anyway, I'm so glad that both of them are getting back into doing podcasting, because they are some of the smartest and kindest people in the anime podcasting circles I know. If you're not subscribed to them already, I'm going to bitch slap you side of the face.
You really
sort
should.
your life out. Subscribe to Anime is Lit. Listen to their stuff. They're both fantastic.
Yeah, including that Magus Bride show. This will be the 4th time that at least one of us has teamed up with them to do a show. It was us 3 and Mark from Ono Anime.
Shout out to Mark,
who is a super cool guy. We talked about Mob Psycho 100 and 200. So
thank you. I'm glad you're getting the lingo.
I did. So if you want to hear our thoughts about that, it was very deep dive into the whole thing. We were talking about production stuff. I was talking about Martin Buber and sketching his existential theory on top of Mob Psycho. We were talking a lot about Reagan. Is Reagan good? Is he bad? Who can say? We talked about Reagan the sex symbol. We were all over the place. So, look out for that.
Was it Ilgene Sylvester who came up with that?
No, I can't remember, but it was an Anime News Network person who I think coined the phrase. But boy, I had so much fun. I don't know when it's going to come out. The raw recording is 5 hours. So, but just, that'll be in our feed, and that'll be in the Anime is Lit feed. I would say subscribe to that. Subscribe to both. And get that. Also, thank you, Poke Emblem. I have not seen you around before, but thank you for the compliments on our
Indeed, thank you.
Our humble pod. Hopefully we can continue to deliver the nice podcastness for you in future.
Indeed.
I think that's all. I think that's all I got. I hope we're potting on a Friday, which I always love. I hope everyone has a lovely weekend.
Indeed. So, whatever you may be up to this weekend, folks, stay safe, look after yourselves, have a cracking time. We will indeed be back. We'll catch up with you all on Twitter. We'll let you know when we're back out again. Check out the polls in the meantime. Check out our previous video. Drop us a review or a like if you get the time. But until then, until next time, of course, as we're always very fond of saying here on this particular show, embrace everyone. It's the end of the universe. Fucking great night.